Oh my God. I didn't even do an intro. Whole Anora gang, where are you at? Um, let's see. I didn't mean to hit go live quite yet. So here I am. Oh my God. Let's see what I got here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. Have to get myself together. I got a beer. Okay. Listen to me. I was on a road trip today. I took my son, just turned 6. We took him out of town for his birthday. We went to the water park. We did some fun shit, right? So we get home like 5 o'clock today, maybe. And I immediately got in the zone. I locked in. I made some mistakes because I switched out Dune Part 2 for sound. I put in a complete unknown. I should not have fucking done that because, of course, Dune won, and I knew that was going to happen. The big story on the night, I'm going to basically read your comments, and we're going to talk through what we just saw, okay? If you are not subbed to this channel or you're not familiar with me personally, I am a huge fan of Anora. I've been talking about that movie literally since, I don't even know, well, since I saw it for sure. But months, like October, I've been like Mikey Madison, Anora. I mean, there's other favorites I had, but among the nominees for sure, Sean Baker won 4 Academy Awards tonight, guys. I didn't even pick him for editing. I thought, he's not going to win 4. He's going to lose something. What's he going to lose? He got the whole thing. The only thing that movie didn't win tonight was Yuri Borisov. And of course, nobody was beating Kieran Culkin. I mean, Jesus would not have beaten Kieran Culkin this year. So, of course, Anora, let's go to your comments. Oh my God. Who else is like thrilled? Who's pissed? Also, I want to find out who is like, how do we feel about Demi Moore? I actually felt bad for like a minute because I predicted Mikey. I wanted Mikey. I'm a horror fanatic, so like obviously I would have been fine if Demi won. But like, man, 62 years old in the industry her whole life. How close was she to an Oscar? How do we feel about that? Like, oh my God, I'm still here. Let's go through some comments. I'm going to start at the top. Can you guys see these? I'm going to start at the top. Kay Ray knows. She says, Mikey, oh God, I gotta tell you, I'm so excited. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Hang on a second. Let me take that off. There we go. And I'm gonna move this around a little bit too. Give me a second. I'm gonna move this around a little bit. So Mikey, Amy says, turned it off after the performance. Ariana Grande deserved more love. So did Cynthia Erivo. I definitely agree with that. Ariana was my favorite all season. I just knew it wasn't going to happen for her because she kept missing. I thought SAG is where she stood the best chance. And that performance was like goosebumps, by the way. Like, holy shit. I mean, that was like a great, great opening. AJ says, Mikey, with a bunch of hearts. AJ follows his channel. He knows that I'm pumped. Greatest night of our lives. Anora prevailed. Yeah. Sean Baker just won the most Oscars ever in one night. And I don't know if you guys remember when I did my initial like predictions like a month ago, I was like talking through it, and on the actual video I realized that, and I'm like, is he going to win 4? Like, I don't know if that's going to happen, even though that was what I basically thought at the time. So I ended up kind of talking myself out of that logistically, that he wasn't going to break that record. And I said, he's going to lose something. And I thought the easiest thing for him to lose would be after Conclave won editing for the BAFTA for editing. I was like, well, he's going to lose to Conclave. Because we don't have the Ace Eddies yet. So now when the Ace Eddies come out next week, I bet you it's Anora, I would imagine. But yeah, man, if you are a Anora fan, like, what are we doing? I mean, this is crazy. Yeah, I agree with that, Amy. We talked about that. I mean, I think Zoe was a shoe-in as far as like predicting, but I did a reaction that I'll piece together and put out probably tomorrow, but I even said on the reaction, like, Ariana deserved better. Like, she should have won something this season. That's crazy to me. At least Timothy got the SAG. But between Timothy and Ariana, I was like, we got to give them something. I mean, they need to be recognized for what they did. So I was really sad that didn't happen for Ariana this season. Anora, Cammie loves movie. Juliana knows. Let me get her in here. I told you Mikey would win. Yes, you did, and so did I. We were eye to eye on that one. I questioned it for a minute, and I think Juliana was here. I know AJ was here when I did my brainstorming session, so I really want to thank a lot of you guys that came to that and that supported me, because I was like in my head going, I just think Demi and the narrative that she had, the career narrative, and then versus essentially a newcomer in Mikey Madison, at least to the Academy. By the way, do you guys think it's crazy that this is basically The Substance? Is that weird to anybody else? Like, Demi Moore, lost to basically the Margaret Qualley version of herself. I don't know, that whole thing. Like I said, I kind of feel bad for Demi, especially as a horror fan. Like, that would have been amazing for the genre, for her to win and for horror to get like a major award like that. But of course she didn't. And, from a performance-based solely, Mikey was my performance. Man, Mikey Nation, Trashy Aqua, what's up? Welcome. Corey, welcome. Hello, Christina. Corey says, I loved all the winners tonight. Yeah, let's go through it. Let me pull it up here. I had it ready to share, and then we can kind of go through it. Where is it? Let's see. Oscar winners. So, in looking at it, so was there anything crazy? So let's see. So, obviously we knew Brody was going to win. We knew Kieran Culkin was going to win. Mikey Madison was huge. Huge. We knew Zoe was going to win. By the way, Animated was upset, right? How many people picked Flo for that? I wonder how many people picked Flo over the Wild Robot, which I did not. I thought about it, and I thought that could happen, and I said that on several videos. Let's see what you guys are saying over here. Luis says Fernando was robbed, unfortunately. Man, international feature, though, Luis. That was like, you guys will see when I do my reaction. This is no shit. As excited as I was for Mikey, and I was pulling for that performance, and I predicted it months ago, when I'm Still Here won international, I fucking lost it. Like, I was so worried that they were going to give that to Amelia Perez because of the 13 nominations and, like, maybe detaching it from the controversy and, like, the whole thing. And I was just, like, on pins and needles. Of course, I predicted I'm Still Here, but I was just like, I don't know if it's going to do it. And when it did it, Brazil is thumping. Brazil was thumping after that international win. And that was an upset. I don't know if you guys realize that. I think the controversy kind of skews people's vision of that. But Amelia Perez was absolutely the favorite to win that category up until the moment it happened, because of what had happened on the circuit prior to tonight. It already had two major precursor wins for international movie. And one of them was the Globes, where they had the screen time in front of the cameras. So really, if you're basing it on like logistics and like stats, that should have been Amelia Perez's prize. So I'm Still Here. That was an upset win. That was a come from behind win based on momentum. I hope you guys realize that. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Amelia Perez because of the controversy or whatever. But from like a voting standpoint and the bodies that are voting in these various awards, until tonight, nothing was really showing us that Amelia Perez was suffering, with the exception of Carla. Zoe kept winning. Like I said, the movie had already won international accolades. So when I'm Still Here won that, man, I was like unbelievably excited. Like, my family's upstairs asleep, and I think my wife's probably pissed at me. And it was after international feature. I didn't mean to get off on a thing there, Luis, but obviously, if you watch my channel, you know that I think Fernando was extremely deserving of that award. I just think the way award season plays out, that it would have been a Hail Mary, like, we're lighting candles all over the world for this to happen, like a miracle win for her to beat Demi and Mikey. I just didn't see it as, it was just a really far-fetched thing to happen. That's why the international feature was so huge, because I would have hated for that movie to go home empty-handed. So I'm so glad it did. Tanya, what are you shocked about? Let's go. Let's do it. The Anora gang is in the house. Like, frankly, I'm shocked. But regardless of whether I predicted it or not, I'm shocked, because I don't know if you're talking about Mikey or what. If you want to elaborate, I'll go through the comments. But it was. Let me just. I'll go through some more of your comments. I promise. I'm going to do at least an hour tonight, so we'll have time to talk through this. But I'll tell you when it comes to the shock thing, to Tanya's point on the screen there, is when Anora won Best Editing. And if you guys remember, and I know I have a lot of my like loyals here with me, my regulars. If you guys remember, I told you when you're watching the broadcast, if X movie, fill in the blank, wins editing, sit up, because you're in for the package being built to win Best Picture. Now, to that point, I thought Conclave was going to win editing. So even I was like, so when that went to Anora, because I had Anora winning 4, not editing, 4 more in addition to editing. It won 5 tonight. So when it won editing, I knew the 4 I picked it. I was like, here it is. It's an Anora sweep. It's going to win literally everything now. Kieran Culkin had already won his award, so we knew Borisov wasn't going to win, but that would have been like a holy shit, like, you know, nobody would have believed that was going to happen. So kind of take that off the table. It swept otherwise. I mean, we're talking like it dominated. The industry loved it. The Academy loved Anora. They absolutely did. And for me to be successful in my predictions, which I pretty much was this year, that had to happen. If they didn't like Anora to the level that I thought they were going to, then I would have missed a shit ton of predictions. I was hinging on the love for Anora, and we saw that tonight. So to Tanya's point, I predicted Mikey, but when it won editing and when Baker got screenplay, I was like, Mikey's winning. And I even said it on my video. You guys will see when I piece it together. It'll be out most likely tomorrow afternoon-ish. I do have to work tomorrow, but at some point it'll be out tomorrow. But you'll see. I said, this is it. She got it. She's going to win. And it was just a matter of how much that Demi narrative got to them. So, thank you for the super chat. I got to find it. Thank God this thing tells me now. I got to find the super chat. It was Rocky O. Let's see if I can click on it here. I don't know how it tells me. You guys saw that, right? So I got this new software. Rocky, I'm going to find it, I promise. Let me find Rocky's chat. It better highlight it for me. K-Ray, if you're still here, tell me what Rocky said so I can find it. Oh, my God. I got this new software. By the way, did you guys see I had Mikey on my little graphic? I did that way before tonight, by the way. So when somebody does a super chat, Mikey pops up on the screen. Oh, here it is. Okay, let's find it. All right. First of all, thank you so much, Rocky. So I got this thing, by the way. It didn't pan out with Timmy, by the way. But I got this thing where if you do a super chat, Mikey comes up. If you do a sub, it's Timmy. But the Timmy dream ended tonight, okay? It actually ended long ago, but I was holding on to it. Rocky, by the way, I saw your comment from before, and it was after you left. I saw your super chat last time, so thank you so much. You're awesome, man. He says Anora is not an Oscar-worthy Best Picture. You know, a lot of people are going to say that, and I'm not even saying you're wrong necessarily. It was my favorite, with the exception of Dune Part 2, in fairness. So Dune Part 2 was my personal favorite of the 10 that got nominated for Best Picture. But, I mean, there was no shot in hell that Dune Part 2 was going to win. So the runner-up for me that I thought stood a chance was Anora. But this is all subjective, right? I mean, that was my personal preference. Now, when you think in the grand scheme of like Best Picture winners, I think you're actually onto something, Rocky. Because a movie like The Brutalist, for example, or frankly even Conclave, if either of those two had won, I don't think those type of comments would exist. I think most people kind of see those as like Oscar-friendly movies, right? So I kind of get what you're saying there. I think Anora is a little bit against the grain. But I think when a movie hits with whoever it is, in this case the Academy, when a movie hits with the Academy, they love it, okay? And also they're kind of awarding, and this is my opinion, but I also feel like they're kind of awarding Sean Baker as well because of his contributions to cinema and to independent filmmaking, which was a huge win for that kind of subgenre, if you can call it that, this year too. And that's going to kind of get lost in the shuffle a little bit. But they made this movie for like $6 million or something like that. That's like not a lot. That's an independent film. And, you know, he's devoted to that way of telling stories. And so is somebody like Brady Corbet too. So I think that's a huge win too. But to your point, Rocky, I see what you're saying. But man, I'm in the Anora gang, so you know I'm happy. So now I have to go back up. So I did see it, but I don't know why it doesn't like lock you guys in if you do a super chat. I don't know why it doesn't do that, because then I have to like find it real quick. Let's see. Let me pick up where I left off here. So Gustavo wants to know if, by the way, thanks for being a member, brother. Don't think I didn't notice. He says, did you record your live reaction? I did. Yeah, I did. So I do this dumb thing where, because I only started doing this year, really. I usually just kind of did this where I did like an after show reaction. But I did, and I recorded the whole 3.5 hours or whatever. So what I'll do is I'll piece it together, and I'll just kind of take out the biggest ones. You know, I'll just kind of show you my reaction. If I had any commentary to a win or something like that. And I'll piece it together for you, and it'll be out tomorrow at some point. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we talked about that, EK. I think you were here. I can't remember if you said it was a lock or if you were kind of making fun of yourself there. I can't remember, but a lot of people thought that, and I could see where that was coming from, and I know what place that was coming from. But that's why, and I said this on my reaction too, guys, do not ever, and I'm just telling you, this is my advice to you, if you ever are filling out a ballot, if you're doing a pool, if you're making predictions, do not ever, under any circumstance, go against the BAFTA winner for a lead performance. Okay? I'm just telling you right now. I think this makes it, with Mikey winning, I think this makes it 10 out of the last 12 years, I think, that they've hit in lead actress. 11 out of the last 12 because of Brody in lead actor. They do not miss basically predicting who the Oscars are going to give the lead acting performance to. Now, I don't know if that's because I mean, there is some crossover, but I don't know if that's because the Oscars are like swayed by who wins at the BAFTAs, but they match up so often, it's ridiculous. And the same thing can be said for the PGA when it comes to picture. And those both obviously matched up again this year. So the Demi Moore narrative was extremely tempting. And when I did my brainstorm session like a week ago, a lot of you came in here, AJ, Julian, a lot of others came in here and were like, stay with Mikey. That's your heart. Stick with it. And I did. But, you know, there was no lock this year. Now, on the night, tonight, when it was happening, it was a lock in my mind. Because Baker had screenplay and editing. I was like, she's going to come with it. She's coming with it. And let's talk about Demi Moore, though. Let me go through your comments. Christina, I switched to YouTube TV like right before the big ones because mine kept buffering. Is that what you're talking about? Well, it does the line, not the circle, but it kept buffering for me too. And I was like, I can't have it buffering during lead actress. So I actually switched to YouTube TV. I was watching on Hulu because I was hoping my daughter could use my YouTube TV. But then she was watching on Hulu, so I was able to go to YouTube TV. But yeah, that was a weird. I'm actually interested to see if anybody else had that. Sean Baker, 4 Oscars. Let's go. Oh, thanks, man. AJ says, I want to thank you for an incredible season of Oscar discussion. I appreciate you, buddy. You've been around the whole time, and you're the man, dude. Thank you so much. Christina, let's go. I'm still here. One of my favorite wins on the night. Yeah, that was, dude, they did really good, by the way. Tarantino presenting for Baker, and Mikey had been in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was probably like her big break. Although, I mean, she's one of my ghost faces, guys. You ever seen Amber from Scream? She's a good ghost face. She tore it up. That's when I've been on the Mikey train since Scream. But yeah, that was there was a lot of great like combinations of presenters. What did you guys think of the 5 coming out and like talking about the different craft nominees? I love that because they always do that for acting. Well, not always, but they've been introducing that as of late for actors. And it's like we always focus on these performances and stuff, which are obviously super important. But I love that the Oscars gave a spotlight to some of these other like categories tonight. Like they spent a lot of time on like the costume designers, and they did it for the cinematographers where they would come out and talk about each one from their movies. I thought that was like, you know, my daughter as an editor and wanting to do that type of stuff. Like I love that stuff. Like so many people go into making these productions. So I really like that they spent time on that. I'm curious what you guys thought about that. But where were the clips, by the way? Like I saw on Twitter, they were going to do the acting clips. They didn't do them. They did them for the leads, right? Because I know Mikey had her clip. But did they do them for supporting? Let's see. Yeah, they did, right? Did they do them for the... Remind me. Did they do the clips for the supporting? I can't remember. Christina, that's what I said too. As soon as it won editing, I was like, we're good. We're fucking great. If you are an Anora fan, like I love my boy Christian over at Hanacast, but he was freaking out when it won editing. I'm just going to tell you because he's not an Anora fan. If you are not an Anora fan, all right, and it won editing, because didn't they do screenplay? Because even original screenplay was kind of up in the air. Like I predicted Baker because of WGA, but WGA is so weird with their qualifications. But I was like, okay, he got screenplay, so great. That's awesome. And, you know, editors don't always give the editing Oscar to an outsider because, you know, he's a director that edits his own films. So it was never like, I never felt good about him winning editor. Even though I had predicted it initially, I was like, I don't know if I feel good about this because they might not give it to him. You know, they're probably going to give it to Conclave because it won the BAFTA or whatever. So when it won editing, to Christina's point, I was like, we're good. Like, I could tape the rest of this and go to bed right now. Like, I know it's Anora. I know it's probably Mikey. You know, the Oscars are very, like, predictable in that way on the night of. Now, of course, that doesn't help people like me, you know, leading up to it. But once the night comes around, you know, I told you guys, there's 3 awards. There's editing, screenplay, and director. If you get 2 of those 3 and nothing else, you're going to win Best Picture. 9 times out of 10. So I knew when it got editing and it already had screenplay that it was good. And I also knew that when Conclave did not get editing, it was dead. Because it had adapted, which is great. We knew it was going to have adapted. But when it did not get editing, there was no way that it could win Best Picture. And I knew that from the moment. In fact, when we get to the last act of the Oscars, towards the end of the broadcast, like the last like half hour, 45 minutes, I think Brutalist became number 2. I think Brutalist was actually the number 2 film, not Conclave, like we originally thought. So if Anora had a threat with 45 minutes left in the show, which frankly it didn't, but if it did, I think it was The Brutalist, because The Brutalist went on a bit of a run there. Did you guys notice that? It got cinematography, it got score, which I predicted both, but still it was like they were back to back to back to back. And then of course Brody won for actor. So I'm telling myself, well, wait a second now. If Corbet wins director, then we could have a nail biter here, because Corbet would have director and lead actor, which is not the package that I think you need, but it still would have made it interesting. So I think Conclave was a lot weaker than we anticipated. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but we'll see. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying earlier, K-Ray. That's weird, right? I mean, it's weird, but it's like, you can't think that the Academy thinks that way when they vote. I mean, the bottom line is they just loved Anora. I mean, that's really what it is. And like we've always said, now we're saying that that's weird, right? Which it is. It's strange. It does, or at least it feels strange. But we would also be saying it was strange if Anora did what it did tonight and Mikey didn't win. Because then it's like, you gave Anora, the film, everything, but the one performance that basically makes it Anora. You know what I mean? Like, that would be weird too. So either way you look at it, you know. But I don't disagree with you. I'm never doubting the strength of film when it comes to the acting categories. Yeah, BAFTA. I said that earlier. BAFTA is like where it's at from a predictor. Now, they do miss, okay? They do miss, but 85 or whatever percent it factors out to be, that's a fucking good percentage, okay? So they are constantly crossing over with what ends up winning in the lead performances at the Oscars. And actually last year, I haven't gone through, obviously, I just did the live stream right when the show ended, but I don't know if it was like this year, but last year they matched up on a shit ton of stuff. I mean, like, the Poor Things wins, they basically all matched up on last year. I mean, that, you know, so BAFTA is a strong, strong indicator if you're doing predictions. Paul says, Anora is cool and fun, but Best Picture, I guess. Paul, you're echoing a sentiment that I've seen in my chat, and I understand where you guys are coming from, because to your point, Anora does not really scream Best Picture, right? At least from the Academy. And I agree with that, but I also think that speaks a little bit to the change. with the more international influence, with younger voters in the Academy, things are shifting a little bit, bro. Like, it's not always going to be the sweeping epic, like, 4-hour English Patient. I mean, I'm not, that stuff's great. Like, I love The Brutalist. I loved all the movies nominated this year except for Emilia Perez. I won't start hating on it, but except for that one. So, but I do get what you're saying. It just doesn't feel the same. Oh my God. That was when I changed over to, oh my God, is that right? Did you get to see it, Christina? Oh my God. Brazil and Latvia won their first Oscars. That is so awesome, dude. Oh my God. The Flow upset was like, I missed that, obviously. I had Wild Robot. Isn't it crazy to you guys, though, that Flow won there? Now, Flow had the international nomination as well. But isn't it crazy that Wild Robot did not win with... I mean, I'm glad Flow won, even though I predicted Wild Robot. I think that's such an inspired win. I love it. But Wild Robot, not only having literally every single precursor except, I think, the Globes, but also, like, it was nominated for sound, right? Which rarely happens for an animated film. It had, what was the other? It had, no, it didn't have original song. It missed original song, which I was surprised by. It had something else. Why am I forgetting it? Let me go through some of these. It had sound. What else did it have? God, why can't I remember? It had one other thing that I was surprised by. Was it score, maybe? Yeah, it had score, right? Can you guys see this? I don't feel like I can see this. Can you guys read this or not? I don't know. Maybe it's just me on the stream, but okay. Let's see here. But yeah, I thought that was great. Yeah, that's going to be tough for Hulu. I got to be honest, because Netflix really knocked it out of the park with their SAG stream. They really did. I mean, they got a lot of heat for this heater's making me hot under my desk. They got a lot of heat for the Tyson Paul fight on Netflix, but I thought they did really good with the SAG stream. Now I got to make this smaller because it's driving me crazy. Will you guys tell me if you can read this in the chat or not? Because it's freaking me out that it might be too, like, illegible. But I don't know if that's just on my end or not. I don't know, whatever. You guys know what one. We'll just go through it. Okay. Let me make this where I can scroll if I need to. Okay. Yeah. Yep. EK is what we said. Mascot Bear says, yep, I agree. So you guys are watching my stuff. You're listening. Thank God, SCW. Oh my God. That is the one, like, I have this AI tracking thing on my camera. I don't have it on right now, but I turned it on before some of these awards because I was like, if some of these wins come to fruition, I've got to be ready to, like, jump up and do all kinds of shit. So when I'm Still Here won, I freaked out. I predicted it. I thought it was going to happen, but at the same time, there was an element of surprise there too, because I was like, did I convince myself it's going to happen? Because they obviously loved Emilia Perez. Maybe I'm just lying to myself. So then when it happened, beyond thrilled. I mean, aside from Mikey, I mean, if Timmy had won, I mean, I wouldn't even be here. I would be, like, passed out in an alley somewhere if Timmy had won tonight. But aside from Mikey, the I'm Still Here win in international was my favorite thing on the night. It really was. Even above Flow and animated, I mean, even the Anora sweep. I mean, the I'm Still Here win in international was so huge because I was just so worried that they weren't going to do it. And they did it. So happy for Anora and Mikey. I am too. That, Jimmy, welcome, by the way. That mirrors my sentiment right now as we're sitting here. Like, and I said this when I was talking about my predictions on my predictions video, my final predictions video, that I wish there was a way to do a 3-way tie. Of course, there's not. But Fernanda, Demi, and Mikey all deserve that award this year. And really, Cynthia Erivo, too. I mean, honestly. I mean, they all deserved it. I mean, it was such a strong category. And most years, it's the most competitive category. And it was the same thing this year. I mean, I agree with you. It's so tough because, especially for horror, for the genre, it would have been giant for Demi Moore to win that. It won makeup, so it is an Oscar-winning film in the horror genre. But that's the only thing that really makes me sad about what happened, because it would have been huge for the horror genre. It really would have been. But, there can only be one winner. I mean, it's tough. I mean, even a two-way tie is like one of the more rare things in the history of cinema. So, yeah, I agree, Jonathan. As you know, performance trumps narrative. Not always, but tonight it did. Tonight it did, Trashy Aqua. I agree. Yeah, there is some stuff on the horizon, Jimmy, but I think that the substance did open some doors, much like with Jordan Peele opening doors with Get Out. And genre filmmaking in general, not always horror, but you look at a movie like Parasite, which came after Get Out. You look at a movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is heavily sci-fi and multiverse, fantasy, right? Genre filmmaking, like it doesn't always have to be these like dramatic biopics based on true stories and these like, icon stories. I was going to say male icon because that's usually what it turns out to be, unfortunately, because for some reason, they don't want to lift up women's stories lately. But it doesn't always have to be that, it doesn't always have to be a biopic or like, based on a true story to win Oscars. It can be these fantastical sci-fi horror, like if they're entertaining, if they achieve top tier in their craft, then we're good. You know what I mean? We're good. Oh my God, by the way, I just realized. I'm sorry, I'm having technical, I'm jumping out at myself, but I just realized it does keep the super chats for me up top. Oh my God, I didn't even have to scroll through that earlier. Amy says Wicked got robbed altogether. I thought it was going to win a third award tonight. I really did. And even as the show was going on, category after category, I was like, what is Wicked going to win in addition to costumes and production design? Because we knew it had those two locked up and it won them. By the way, I got teary-eyed with the costume designer, Paul Tazwell. By the way, the first black man to win that award, I didn't know that. That was really cool. And obviously super historic. I didn't know that. So that was like an added element to that win. But I got emotional during his speech. And when he won, so beautiful and so important, really. I mean, I didn't know that. So I was really cool to hear that and to find that out when he was accepting his award. And, the cast of Wicked was so like congratulatory towards him, and you could tell that's a tight-knit cast, and I would not sleep on part 2 for good next year. Well, this year, but I mean next year at the Oscars, I would not sleep on that movie because that movie had a run this season that was almost like a tryout for next season. In addition to being celebrated for how great it was, it's a bit of a tryout and a like, hey, we're here. The rest of this is coming. If you loved all this shit, wait till next year. So I wouldn't sleep on it, but I could see the robbing mentality because it was good and it was a crowd pleaser. It was a box office success. So, yeah. Let's go through some of these down. Get down here. Where was I? Hey, Freda Murphy. What's up, Freda? She's here. She says, we did it. I assume you mean Brazil or you mean Mikey Stance. I don't know. Either one, we did it. But yes. Gustavo says Flo and I'm Still Here were huge wins. I agree. Flo was a big surprise early in the night. I thought it could happen. I didn't predict it. I know a couple friends of mine did, and kudos to them. I didn't predict it, but I thought it could happen. And when it happened, I wasn't even really surprised in my reaction. I was just kind of like, oh, that's awesome. But I just thought Wild Robot had that sewn up. And on paper, they did. So this is a win for Flo specifically, to Gustavo's point. This is a win that the Academy is not changing. They're changed in the Animation Guild, or the animation branch. I'll just tell you right now. Because The Boy and the Heron should not have won last year either. Now, that was Miyazaki. I get it. He's a legend. You can't compare Miyazaki to really anything. But nonetheless, even regardless of it being Miyazaki and having that name attached to it, The Boy and the Heron was not a digestible box office success for like the GA. And it beat the Spider-Verse film that was the clear front runner that last season. This season, Flo beat The Wild Robot, which arguably was even more of a front runner than the Spider-Verse was. And it was also this little indie, hand-drawn, unorthodox, unique movie story that was nothing like, these big Spider-Verse, Wild Robot, DreamWorks Sony Pictures. Like, those are huge, like millions and millions of dollars productions. And you have the small Latvian film with no dialogue. And I mean, that symbolizes that our job as predicting at least the animation Oscars going forward is frankly going to be super tough, because the last 2 years now, they have not done what they've told us they're going to do historically. They have now 2 years in a row gone with the more indie auteur pick for animation, for animated film. I love it. But when it comes to predicting movies, awards, there is no reason that anybody that does this should not have picked The Wild Robot to win that award tonight. Now, I know some people pick Flow because they saw the upset, which I did too. But if you're going on stats and you're going on what's happened historically, no way you shouldn't have predicted The Wild Robot. So I'm glad I'm glad Flow won. But at the same time, it would have been next to impossible to go against that as your prediction, based on how strong of a front runner that film was. So that really tells us, along with the Boy and the Heron win from last year, that really tells us that the animation branch is different. They're just different now. They're not going to always go with the mainstream, main studio, like expected pick that made X number of millions of dollars at the box office and was seen by everybody on Earth. Because, I mean, I still have a ton of friends that haven't even seen Flow and don't have a chance to see it yet. And it just won. So, and I know it was Miyazaki last year, but in my opinion, from like just take the filmmakers out of the equation, and if you're just looking at the movie itself, those wins are similar when you look at the product. And I know Miyazaki brings a whole other element to it, but I think if you look at the product, they're very, very similar. Let's see what we got here. Just got another. Oh, Mikey. See, did you guys see that? I need to move it though, right? Can you guys see it? Did it pop up? I'm so proud of myself for doing that. I don't even know how I did it. I'm showing my age. Let's see. We got another one here, though. Thank you, EK. Always a big supporter of the channel, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. You didn't have to do that, buddy. Great job in predicting awards this year. You and Hannah Cast are the Oscar season co-MVPs. I got to check on him, man. I love Christian. I watch him, too. He's a great dude. But he hates Anora, as you probably know. So I'm a little worried about him. I got to check on him. Because he's always like by Anora in his videos. Yikes. But he's a good dude. And thank you so much for that again, EK. I appreciate it. And, you know, the predicting thing, I did okay, but like, it's so hard. It's so hard. It's what people don't realize. Like my friend Matt at Next Best Picture, I know you guys have heard of Matt or you probably follow him too. He lives this shit and he'll miss, X number every year. Because you just don't, some of this shit you literally can't predict. And that's honestly why it's so fun, especially this year. I got to do my tally, but I missed quite a few. I missed sound. Let me look at this up here on this screenshot real quick. I mean, what did I miss? Let me go through them and I'll tell you what I missed real quick. Because I actually missed quite a few tonight. I got that. I got that because of Mikey. I could have easily lost that. I got that one, which was an obvious. So I missed this one. I had the Wild Robot. So you guys help me count. So I missed, that's one I missed. Did I get animated short? Where did I pick for animated short? I think I picked Wonder to Wonder, which did not win. So I missed that one. I got that. I missed documentary. Man, and what's a bummer too, to EK's point, is the ones I missed, not all of them, but a lot of the ones I missed were like the ones I was like this close to picking. And I was like, nah, I'll pick something else. I see I got another one. I'll get to it, I promise. So I went with Porcelain War, which I missed, right, for No Other Land. I'm glad I missed for No Other Land. I had a screener for that movie, and it was fucking awesome. And with the Palestinian conflict and the importance around that movie, I'm thrilled that it won. I'm thrilled that those filmmakers had a chance to speak their truth up there and to coexist on the screen like that. By the way, I'm keeping this so I don't forget. I'm not doing an Inglourious Basterds thing. But I picked Porcelain War to EK's point about predicting because it's the only documentary of the ones nominated that had won any type of precursor. And not only that, it won for documentary filmmaking at the DGA, which is no small award. Now, No Other Land won at the Indie Spirits, but it was after voting closed, and it also was not up against any of its competitors here. So, honestly, it was really should have been Porcelain War based on precursors, but No Other Land had the word of mouth. And it's going to get distribution now in the U.S., which I think somebody told me on my last stream that actually got picked up by Briarcliff. I can't remember who that was, but whoever told me that, I hope that's true, because people need to see it. It's a very important topic. I missed that one. I missed editing, but I shouldn't have. I did. I know this is not logistics or whatever, but I had thought it was going to be Anora, and then I'm like, well, Baker's not going to win 4 Oscars, and the editors might not give a director of the editing award, so I'll pick Conclave. So I missed that one. So that's 4 I missed, right? International, we got that one. Makeup we got was The Substance. Score I got, which was Brutalist. Song I got, which was El Mal. Obviously, we got Picture. I got Production Design. Live Action Short I missed because I picked Alien, which, by the way, they pronounce it Aileen. Did you notice that? So I guess it's Aileen. I've been saying Alien all season. I missed Sound, but that's my fault. I switched it literally at the last second to A Complete Unknown. Do I have to count that? I guess I have to count that. So that's 6. I got to scroll. So remember, I'm at 6. I got visual effects. I got adapted. I got original. So I missed 6. That's not great. So what's that? That's 17 out of 23, right? Or 18 out of 23? What is that? Right? 17 out of 23. So that's what I got, which actually is probably worse than I did last year. But look, sound I should not have missed. I should not have changed that. So I should have had sound, and I also should have stuck with Baker in editing. Those 2 for sure I should have definitely had, because that's basically what I thought was going to happen. But I got in my own head, and I changed it. I don't know why. EK, thanks again, man. I appreciate you. Let's see. Gustavo's back. Let's see. Gustavo. No Other Land was a pleasant surprise. It's unfortunate that they honor terrible people like Mark Platt in the same night, but we take what we can get. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I didn't see your super chat when I was talking about it there, but yeah, I was really thrilled that No Other Land won documentary, because I didn't predict it, but I was thrilled that it won because people need to see that. Like I said, I think somebody told me, and I actually haven't seen in the news or anything, but I think somebody told me on one of my streams that it got picked up recently. So I think it has a distributor now, and if it didn't, it definitely will now, because it just won the Oscar for Best Documentary. So I don't think distribution is going to be an issue after tonight. So see it as soon as you can. See it. It's powerful. It's important. If you're like me, it's going to be educational. It's going to teach you some things about the conflict that you might not realize. And I was afraid it was going to be too divisive for the Academy, and they went for it, which is awesome. So. But thank you so much, Gustavo. I appreciate it, man. You're always a big supporter of mine. That means a lot. Let me see if I can find where I left off here. So that was that one. We got a couple of these in the chat. Let me just show you a couple similar ones. Lucas says he's sad for Demi Moore. I am too. You know, I'm not going to come in here, you know, and gloat about Mikey winning and all that shit. I'm not going to do that, because honestly, between her and Demi and Fernanda, I was literally like battling so hard with like what to predict, because I love those. Literally, if you put Timothée Chalamet in the mix, those were my top 4 performances of the year. Those 3 ladies and Timmy, like those were my personal top 4 of the year. And to have them all nominated and be in the race all year was really exciting for me, because it was easy for me to champion these. You know, I mean, it wasn't like, you know, I love Renee Zellweger, but for example, it wasn't like the Judy year. I mean, I thought it was a great performance, but I wasn't like, I have to champion this. I love it so much. I mean, I was just kind of like, yeah, you know, it's good. But this year, to have her win, but to have Demi Moore in the mix in a horror movie, and by the way, a pretty freaky horror film that's not like for the Academy. I still can't believe it got nominated for as many Oscars as it did. I gotta be honest. But I am sad for her too. Yeah. That was a full circle thing though, right? And I'm seeing it happen in real time. And now I've been around for a long fucking time, guys. I saw Pulp Fiction in the movie theater. I don't know how old some of you guys are, but I saw it in the movie theater my first year of college in 1994. Okay, Pulp Fiction, which is actually what turned me into like a bona fide, pure, like cinephile. Like I'm like going to the movies fucking weekly, and it was started with Pulp Fiction for me. I mean, I was a movie fan before that, but I'm saying like theater going like week after week after week after I was graduated high school and was kind of on my own. And I haven't looked back. You know, I don't know how many years that is. But that was a full circle thing. And I saw that happening in real time. I'm like, oh, they got Tarantino coming out here to give this award out. And at the time, I thought, at that split second, I thought it could either be Baker or Corbet because I knew both films were performing really well. I had predicted Baker, and really it should have been Baker with DGA, WGA, and the wins that he had on the night tonight. So I thought to myself, man, they're going to have Tarantino give this guy his Oscar. How Sean Baker is literally floating in heaven right now. Like, he is the happiest person that you could even fathom on this earth currently. His movie that he wrote, that he directed, that he edited for some psychotic reason because he doesn't hire some editor to help him out. His creation, that vision that he had, you know, not only did it win big tonight, but something as little as the person handing him the statue is Tarantino. That memory, dude, like, could you guys imagine that? Like, you know, whatever you do in your life or whatever you're passionate about, to receive an award for it given to you by the person that you, like, have probably looked up to and admired your whole career, is no small thing. And when I saw that happening, I'm like, this is going to be a big deal for whoever wins this, for sure. So, yeah, that was cool. And, you know, the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood casting was pure magic. Sydney Sweeney, Mikey Madison, Austin Butler. Tarantino knows what's up. I mean, he was basically like, let me get you guys a rogues gallery of your future stars, basically. Let's see. King's here. What's up, Kings? You know what? I agree. I mean, I don't agree with Anora's good part. As you know, I love that. It was my number 3 of the year. And actually, The Substance was my number 4. They're both in my top 5. This year was phenomenal for me, personally. And maybe that's why I've had more success on my YouTube channel this year and stuff, because I was so passionate about these movies. There were so many of my personal favorite movies in the 10 for Best Picture. That never happens. I'm trying to think of, I mean, I could look at my letterbox, but I'm trying to think of last year what I had in my personal top 10 that made Best Picture. I mean, I loved Oppenheimer. I loved Barbie, but I didn't have them in my top 10. I think I may have had Oppenheimer in my top 10. But I think everybody did, right? You know, if you love movies, if you love Nolan. But this was like a red letter year for me personally, because I mean, Dune Part 2, The Substance, Anora, Nosferatu got 4 nominations. That was actually my number 1 of the year. I don't know if you guys know. And that got 4 nominations this year. I mean, what else am I missing? So many movies I freaking loved were like in the conversation this year. I'm Still Here. When I saw that in November, I like came out here and put Fernanda in my predictions for Best Actress. That's how floored I was by it. Yeah, dude, it was a great year. Oh my God. Let's see. My girl Siobhan's here. Pear character doing a shaka sign with his hand saying cool. I know you're happy for me, if that's your way of saying it. I love you. You're the best. She's been on my channel before, guys. She'll be back next week. We're going to do me and Siobhan Awards Obsession that's on the screen there. Make sure you go follow her, by the way. We're going to do our top 3, bottom 3 of award season. So we're going to give you, that'll probably be like my final video for this season so we can say goodbye to it. I love Anora, but let's move on. Let's do the 2025 stuff. But we're going to give you our top 3 moments from award season and our bottom 3 moments from award season. It could be like somebody that won or somebody that missed or a speech or like really anything that happened this award season that would be our favorites and our least favorites. So we're going to do that. But thank you for the super sticker. You're the best. I don't know what's the difference. I don't know what a super sticker is. I don't know, but it means the world to me. And then we got this Flow 1. Now, remind me, Siobhan, you picked that, right? Because I know like I had like 2 or 3 friends that I followed that picked it, and I was really close to switching. Siobhan went to see Flow like just a couple weeks ago, and she was like floored by it. She was texting me when she went to see it, and I don't know if you were here, but what I think is really fucking cool about that win is that it, along with The Boy and the Heron last year, we're different now. We're different. I don't care if you're Disney. I don't care if you're DreamWorks. I don't care if you're Sony. I don't care. None of that shit matters with the animation branch right now. What's the most artistic film in my category? That's where we are right now. So when you look at predictions next year for animated feature, I mean, obviously we don't know how it's going to play out for nominees. What's the most like independent, auteur, unique piece of art in that category? That's what I'm saying. So now look, I love The Wild Robot. We're talking about best of the year. That was like my number 8 or 9 of the year when I did my top 10. I freaking love that movie. The parental, like, motherhood, like letting your kid go. Like, I cry right now just thinking about it. But there's something about the uniqueness and the, like, pulling it from the ground up and making it on your laptop. You know, what's that program that he used or whatever? My son, who's 11, downloaded it. That's how inspired he was from the story of the director of Flow. That because his first movie, I can't remember the name of it right now. Somebody throw it in the chat. But his first animated film before Flow, it took him like 7 years to make it, and he made it by himself on his laptop using, what the hell is that program? I forgot it last time I had a stream too. There's like a program where you can basically make your own animation. And they have a free version, so my son downloaded it because, you know, he wanted to make the next Flow or whatever. So, look, I have a black cat in this house, okay? I have 3 cats in this house. We're a cat family, okay? But I have a black cat, Felix, and he loved Flow even, all right? So he wasn't jealous of the black cat in Flow. I'm very happy for that win, to answer your question, Siobhan. And you stop doing super chats. You don't need to do that for me. I love you so much. But I know you're thrilled. I think you're one of my peeps that predicted that, which good on you, because I was really close to doing it. But like I said earlier, it really technically should have been The Wild Robot if you're looking at the resume and at the stats. And I just didn't go against that, even though it turns out I should have. But I am, at the end of the day, I don't care, because that's a win that I'm thrilled turned out to be the way that it is. Jimmy says, dude, did you guys see on social media? I was on a road trip. I took my kid out of town for his birthday. And I didn't spend a lot of time on social media, but I popped in today when my wife was driving, and they had like Fernanda Torres statues at the carnival. Did you guys see that shit? And she was like holding an Oscar. They had like erected statues of her, okay? And I'm like thinking to myself, dude, if I'm Still Here wins anything, ABC needs to have a damn camera. Whoever their like Brazilian affiliate is, they should have cut to that just like they do in the damn Final Four when your team like hits a game-winning shot and they cut to the campus where all the students are watching it. Like, they missed I know that's not like what the Oscars are about or whatever, but that's what they should have done when it won international feature. I bet you that place literally, like, I can't even imagine what the atmosphere was like when it won that award. Because I'm telling you, it was an upset to win that award. That was an underdog story. That was a David beating a Goliath when it beat Amelia Perez, even with the controversy, which I think helped it. But, I mean, let's be honest. I'm Still Here as a superior film. I mean, you know, I'm just calling it like it is. I mean, you guys know I hate Amelia Perez, so I'm obviously biased. But, you know, it was just such a powerful watch for me. AJ, yep, you know it. AJ knows. Yeah, I think you're right. I'm gonna admit, EK, I think you're right. I think that. Well, let me ask you guys this. I'll pitch this to you. I'm not on YouTube, so I can't put up a poll. Yeah, but I'll read through your comments, I promise. I'm scrolling through them. Super chats I'll prioritize, but I'm scrolling through them. Let me ask you guys this. If Demi Moore had the narrative that she has, which, I mean, basically she does because she exists. That's her narrative. But she was in a film that was highly regarded because she portrayed somebody in a biopic. Okay? Or it was a dramatic role. Okay? Would she still have lost tonight? Because I think EK's onto something. Now, I think an argument can be made that maybe she still would have lost because Anora was so strong, and Mikey came along with that. But I just think that, you know, the BAFTA's really what I'm just telling y'all right now. AJ knows me, okay? He's one of my biggest supporters, and he knows what my predictions lie in. It's the BAFTA for lead performances. I'm not going to get it right every single year, but if you could tell me, Gerald, you can get your lead performances, both of them, right every year, 8 out of the next 10 years, that's what I'm going to do. I'll miss those 2. So if this year had been one of the misses because Demi won, I would have been thrilled, or Fernanda. I would have been thrilled. Fine, that's great. So I'm always going with the BAFTA. If Demi had won the BAFTA, I would have picked Demi tonight. But to EK's point, this may have been a year where the BAFTA missed, because then you have to factor in the Academy's horror bias. Now, a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but they gave the Substance, X number of, nominations or whatever, which I agree, but, the voting for that is different than the voting for the winners. Obviously, there's more of a finality on it when you're voting for the winner. I think EK's onto something there. I think that this year it may not have mattered as much because Mikey was seemingly unbeatable with the Anora haul tonight. But the point is made, and I agree with EK, that the Academy needs to get off that shit because, like I said earlier, we can't be doing nothing but biopics with old dudes portraying, whatever. I mean, we need these genre stories, horror, sci-fi, fantasy. We need that stuff. That's what entertains people. I mean, hell, The Wild Robot, just as an example, getting a sound nomination, a score nomination. I mean, it was not too far-fetched to consider Wild Robot one of the possible 10 for Best Picture this year. Obviously, we had 2 international films in there with I'm Still Here and Emilia Perez, which that's starting to happen a little bit more often. Zone of Interest, Anatomy of a Fall, going back to Parasite. I mean, we're starting to get a little more diversity in terms of geography. But the horror bias, as a horror fanatic, drives me fucking crazy. Like, we need to stop that, and I think that EK's right. Like, if it's like, what if the Substance hadn't won makeup tonight? Obviously, that would have been a horror bias. You would have been able to clearly say that. So, I agree with you. It's a bummer. What else are we looking at? EK, thanks, brother. I appreciate you as always. I went to the Mikey Madison win clip on YouTube, and the comments are full of Demi Moore was robbed. Yeah, it's, let me see how I can address this. I think first of all, and I know EK follows me, but if you guys follow me and you've watched my videos on this channel in the last few months, I love all the performances in this category. I mean, even Carla Sofia Gasson, I've been complimentary of her performance in that movie. She's 5th for me by a long shot. But I haven't talked negatively really about any of the performances, specifically in lead actress. It was a very strong category this year, especially from the 4 up. Arrivo, Torres, Mikey, and Demi. They were all top tier A+ performances. So in that regard, Demi was robbed. I agree with that. But much like I said earlier, let me ask you guys this. If Anora wins, and now, of course, our judgment's clouded, right? 9 out of every 10 of the people that are saying that were probably wanting Demi to win. They were probably a Demi supporter, or they predicted her, or that was who they thought should win, right? Which that's fine. I mean, of course, you support who you support. I'm not saying that of course, you're not going to break your allegiance just because they lost. I mean, I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. I mean, Jesus, they win 3 or 4 games a year, and that's it. So, I mean, I'm still a fan of theirs, So, let me ask you this, though. If Anora wins picture, screenplay, director, and editing, and Demi wins lead, are we saying Mikey was robbed? Because to me, that's factual at that point. Because then you go, why did we leave out the main ingredient in this recipe that we awarded everything around it? That would be somewhat of a bigger robbery to me. Now, when you're looking at it from a career narrative standpoint and not basing it on what the Academy showed us tonight, which I assume you guys know this, but they showed us that Anora was clearly their favorite film among the bunch tonight. The Brutalist was probably number 2, by the way, which a lot of us thought it was Conclave before tonight, but I think The Brutalist was number 2. So that would be a robbery, because that would be almost unfair to where you're like, well, the lead performance that carried the movie that you guys gave fucking everything to is sitting in a chair watching somebody else win the award. So that would, and and again, I don't want this to be misunderstood. I was going to be thrilled no matter who won this category. I mean, unless it was Carla. But otherwise, I was going to be thrilled. I mean, they're all deserved. I would have been more surprised at others, but I mean, I was going to be thrilled either way. And I just knew when Anora got editing and screenplay, I can't remember which one happened first. I don't know why I can't remember that. I think they gave screenplay first, which I remember being surprised. But anyway, when it had those two, whenever it got whatever the second one was, much like my girl said in the chat earlier, I knew right then Mikey was going to win. I knew it. Or at least I knew she should win, because the Academy's telling us right now, this is what we liked. This is what we voted for. Anora, So, I mean, hell, there was probably a good chance for Borisov to upset tonight. I mean, that's how much they loved it. I mean, I don't think anybody could have beaten Kieran Culkin. But now I'm wondering if Borisov was number 2. What do you guys think? I think Borisov was probably number 2 in the voting. I swear to God I do. I would have said 4 or 5 before tonight, but now I think he was probably number 2. A complete unknown blanked, right? I think it completely blanked. The Brutalist did really well, so maybe Guy Pearce could have been number 2, because the Brutalist was doing pretty good too. EK, you're the man. Thank you so much. But yeah, that's going to be in the eye of the beholder. I think the Demi Moore is robbed comments are obviously coming from Demi supporters, which, that's to be expected. But I don't know how you can call it a robbery based on what happened tonight. Now, if they're saying Anora overperforming over a movie like The Substance is robbery, we already know the Academy has a bias against horror. So Anora won how many? 5 Oscars tonight, right? 5, I think. The Substance is not going to win 5 Oscars. I would love for it to, but it's not going to. A movie like that's not going to win 5 Oscars. At least not probably in my lifetime. So the robbery thing is all you're going to hear about tomorrow, the rest of the week. I'm extremely, honestly sad for Demi. I really, really am. I'm not just saying that because you guys know I love Mikey and whatever. I'm literally not trying to patronize anybody, but I am sad for her. I really am. I think that I hope in the, elder part of her career, which she is now, that this will, at a minimum, give her more juicy roles to take on. And I mean, she should have them anyway, but now coming off this season for sure, she's back, Demi Moore's back. We can't say that. We can't say she's not anymore, because there was a period of time where she did disappear. She had a hiatus, right? She did Charlie's Angels, which, I love that movie, but she had the Charlie's Angels sequel in the early 2000s, and then that was kind of her comeback at the time. And after the Striptease movie, and, by the way, Brian Rowe, who is a great awards pundit also, he did an awesome video on Demi Moore that I think he put out last week that kind of talks about her career and kind of leading up to this year's Oscars. You guys should check that out if you haven't already, especially if you're a Demi Moore fan. But the robbery conversation is a tough one to have because it's going to be in the eye of the beholder, and I don't see it as a robbery, but I'm also basing it on what I saw tonight from the Academy. So it only makes sense that Mikey won tonight. You know what I'm saying? But if the Anora Hall as a whole you see as robbery, and you kind of group Demi in with that, then that's a more competitive argument, in my opinion. Like I said earlier, I wish they could all win. I mean, that would have been the perfect scenario. Let me see if I can get through some of these comments here. You guys are awesome, by the way. Thank you so much. Dude, Anora Gang is alive and well here. Hello, Maria. I see Maria's here. Yeah, nice. We mentioned that earlier. Thank you for joining. I saw your name there. I had to shout you out. Thank you for always being here for me. But she says it was awesome to see Sean Baker get the Oscar from Tarantino. I agree that was really, really cool. And I saw that happening. I'm like, okay, here comes Tarantino. Oh my God, he's going to be giving Sean Baker's awards. This is crazy. It's like a kid, getting an autograph from. By the way, did you guys see the Jeremy Strong story? Oh my God, I was in tears. Oh my God, I can't remember if that's on my video or not, but I was literally crying. So in 1993, Jeremy Strong was at the Oscars because he lived in LA, and he just went there as a fan because they have like the public kind of stands behind the rope or whatever to see celebrities, and they had pictures of him there. I think he was like 13 at the time, And it was when Robert Downey Jr. was nominated for Chaplin. And so talk about full circle, right? And the interviewers on the red carpet before the show is talking to Jeremy Strong, and they're interviewing him about that. And they show a picture of him from 93 when he was there. And while they're interviewing him, this is not staged in any way. It's like one of those red carpet interviews when he's going into the show. And they're talking to Jeremy Strong on Hulu. And while they're interviewing him, Robert Downey Jr. comes up. And they're literally just talking about how he was a kid and RDJ was there and stuff. And then he comes up as if it was like on cue or whatever. And Jeremy Strong was like crying in the red carpet interview when he was like being nostalgic about coming full circle as a kid in the audience at the Oscars on the street there. And now he's a nominee at the Academy Awards. And they kind of told a similar story when RDJ was giving out the Supporting Actor Award. And you could see him getting emotional. And I was getting emotional. I mean, that shit is like, that's fucking beautiful, man. Like, that's literally like, that will get me every time. Because you can tell the dedication that these people have to, it's going to sound cheesy, but to entertaining us. Their life's goal is to entertain us. And when they take it that seriously, it just hits me. Like I retweeted a video I watched from the Academy today, and the video was a montage of all the different nominees when they found out they were nominated. And most of them are, of course, emotional and freaking out and screaming, and their families there and everything. That shit gets me, man. Like, you work your whole life in this craft, and you're telling these stories, and, you know, I mean, of course you want to make money or whatever, but you can tell that's not what it's about. You know what I mean? It's about the art, and it's about your vision reaching people to a level that would get you something like an Academy Award nomination. Because it's not about the award either. But the recognition means so much to them when they're essentially working their whole life to be recognized and for that artwork to be seen. I'm sorry, I got off on the thing there, but I just thought about the Jeremy Strong thing because that got me. I was like, I'm crying in the red carpet interviews. Like, what the hell? I'm not going to make it through this night. You know what I mean? But he got me. Let's see. I'm going to say that right. Ting Arawa. Is that right? I think the pundits continue to do this. Close, Lily, and Demi. These were brilliant performances, but the media loves the story rather than the actual stats. Oscar Esper saw it all along. Well, so did I, but I'm glad. I didn't actually know that they were sticking with Mikey. So that kind of made me feel better when I saw him and Brother Bro were sticking with Mikey the other day. I was like, oh, okay, good. It's not just me. I think that, I think that you're right, though, to a certain extent, because you got to follow the predictors. Now, they're not always going to pan out. Flo is a perfect example. The Wild Robot should have won tonight. No question. And I bet you Oscar Esper picked the Wild Robot. I mean, I don't know, but I assume he did. And if you're predicting the Academy Awards, you should not have predicted Flo. If you predicted Flo, you're awesome, but you went on a hunch, frankly. You went on a hunch and a gut feeling, which is fine, because I did that with A Complete Unknown and Sound tonight. I switched literally like an hour before the show, which I shouldn't have done, because I was right initially with Dune. But I switched to A Complete Unknown on a hunch, on a gut feeling, because I was like telling myself, well, they've been biased against Dune Part 2. There's been kind of a lack of love for that movie this award season, even though I think it's injustice, but it is what it is. That was A. And then B, I didn't see A Complete Unknown going home empty-handed after 8 nominations. Or was it 10? I don't know, it was a lot. You got at least 8. And I didn't see it going home empty-handed, so I'm like, well, what can it win? And then it had the sound win from the Guild just like a week ago. So I'm like, well, maybe sound. And, you know, back when they did sound mixing and sound editing, they had 2 awards, it would have definitely probably been a split between A Complete Unknown and Dune for those, right? Because then you say, well, Dune was the sound mixing award for 1,000%, but sound editing could have very easily gone to A Complete Unknown. But now they combined them. So it's like, well, which one was stronger, the mixing or the editing? Obviously, they thought the mixing, and so did I, frankly. But I was switched it at the last minute. So I shouldn't have done that, though. You know what I mean? But I was going on a hunch. I was going on a gut. So if somebody predicted that and they got it, like me or whoever, then that would be not because you're basing it on any evidence that's in front of you, like Flo for animated, but you're basing it on, this is what I feel like. I just feel something about this. And that can be right, too. And you follow your instincts. You follow your heart. You guys came into my live stream a couple weeks ago and you told me to follow my heart with Mikey because I was considering taking her off the number 1 spot. And I was like, do I do this? Because the Demi narrative is so strong. She gave another fucking great speech, wherever it was. I think it was the SAGs at the time when I was doing that live stream. And I was like, they're going to eat this up. You know, I didn't know what to do, really. I didn't want to get off Mikey, but I thought that maybe I should. But I didn't. I stayed with her. Apparently, much like the Oscar expert did, too. Let's see. Jonathan says, when Anora won editing, I imagine it would be 5 out of 6. That's what happened. I did, too. Let me go through some of these real quick. Yeah, Kings is right there. Kings is right. Dude, you out here spitting bars tonight. He says Hollywood don't like movies that hold up a mirror to all their bullshit, like The Substance. That's true. It's weird that in all this, I'm doing this live stream. I got to work tomorrow morning. I'm going to come home. I'm going to edit together my reaction for you guys. It'll be out hopefully tomorrow afternoon. But all this shit, because, you know, war season is so frantic for me and for my channel that I don't really get a chance to stop and be like, but that's why I was asking you, to King's point too, is like, it's weird that this is the plot of The Substance, really, in the fucking Oscars tonight. I mean, that, whether you're happy for Mikey or not, that's fucking weird, okay? Yeah, because like K-Ray said earlier, I mean, it's like a Sue and Elizabeth Sparkle type deal that went down tonight. I mean, the only thing we're missing is, like, you know, the New Year's Eve party or whatever. But yeah, it's tough, man, because I'm so happy for Mikey. I got my prediction right, but that was also my favorite performance among the bunch, my personal favorite. You know, I was chatting with my daughter tonight. You guys know I talk about her on this channel all the time, and she's a big movie person. She just graduated film school. She's an editor. She wants to be a cinematographer, blah, blah, blah. She loves all this shit, too. She's not an Anora fan. She doesn't think it should win. She's, you know, we have that back and forth, and it just wasn't a movie that she thought should win tonight. She doesn't dislike Mikey necessarily, but that wasn't her pick to win. You know, I get it. I mean, I get it. Not everybody's going to be on board. Not everybody's going to be in the Anora gang, but I do feel bad for Demi. I do. I absolutely do. There's no way around that. No matter how happy I am for Mikey, I feel bad for Demi. If Demi had won, I would have been thrilled for her, but I would have felt bad for Mikey. There's just no way around that. I think, let's see, rethink what Best Picture is. They all don't have to be big, epic, or serious. Yep. They could be silly, like Everything Everywhere, or romantic, like Shape of Water, or even Get Out. Yeah, I said something similar to that earlier. I echo everything you just said. Let's start getting some other shit into the mix, okay? Which is another reason why I like Anora, because you guys say whatever you want, but Anora is not really, historically, that Oscar-friendly, Oscar-baity type of, like, melodrama, okay? It's high energy. There's, like, sex in it. It's a lot of, like, frantic, in-your-face type of filmmaking. It's not like let's sit down and watch this with my grandparents and learn about the history of whatever. I mean, that's not what this is like, okay? So I think it is important in that respect also. Let me see. I got another whatever. Oh, my God. Siobhan, I told you to stop. Let's see. Thank you, Siobhan. She says, super chat, she says, how do you feel about that wonder? She wants to talk shit to me. That's why she did it. How do you feel about that Wonder to Wonder loss? It went to my favorite. By the way, did you pick Shadow of the Cypress? You were talking about switching from something to something. And I was talking shit to you too. So you wanted to come right back at me. I predicted Wonder to Wonder. That was one of the ones I missed. In animated short. I didn't know anything about that category. I picked it because it won 2 precursors, including the Annie, which is the Animated Guild. So this is another situation where it's like, why are we not predicting that? Now, of course, it didn't win, but that was one that I kind of thought was like, I don't know anything about these. The shorts always trip me up. I watched a few of them leading up to the Oscars, but I'd already done my predictions when I watched them. There's some good ones out there. By the way, I just saw I'm Not a Robot yesterday, or day before yesterday, and it won. And I thought that was really good. Yeah, I know about the Wonder to Wonder loss, Siobhan. But I'm happy for you. I don't know. I just went with the predictors, and I didn't see that one coming. Let's see. Let me go down here. Where was I? Michelle, welcome. I see some new names in here. I'll shout you guys out real quick. Michelle says she was not a real Anora fan. She wanted screenplay for the substance, but Madison was a deserved win. Yeah, all day long. If Coralie, man, all day long. That was my pick for screenplay. I don't know if you guys saw my ranking when I directing too. Coralie, she was the best director, the best writer of the bunch this year. I didn't think she was going to win either of those prediction wise, but if my personal favorites, absolutely, I agree with you 100%. What do we? Yeah, you guys are confirming. So they didn't do clips for supporting. What did they do? They talked about them, right? Oh yeah, because that was the one where RDJ came out and he said something about all 5 of them. Yeah. I don't know. What's with the clip? Why can't we just do clips? Like, I do my own movie awards. I make my own clips. I'm out here, sweating in the garage till all hours of the night to do clips. I'm one dude. You know what I mean? Why can't we get some editors together to make edits, 60-second edits or whatever, for every at least acting category? That's only 4 edits you got to make with clips. You know? But I will say, and I mentioned this earlier, I loved the attention they gave to the other fields. They did a really cool thing with the costume designers. They did the same thing with cinematographers. Like, I really like that. The original song nominees, that was cool. Yeah, they just talked about them. That was what I was saying, too. Yeah, Tony. What's up? Tony's another big supporter of the channel. What's up, bro? He says, glad this year is over. Preview for 2026. I don't know, but I do know Paul Thomas Anderson's got something coming out, so with Leo in it. So that's an early prediction from your boy, just because I love PTA and him and Leo working together is like a dream come true. So that's probably going to be a big player, I would think, depending on the tone of the movie, because I've heard kind of like crime drama, but I don't even think it has a title yet. But that's probably going to be a big player. Obviously, Wicked for Good is probably going to show up in some people's early predictions. By the way, I don't really do early predictions, but I do a video like usually around like end of March, early April with like a list of some things to look out for. So I'll make like a list of movies basically, and then performances within the movie, and maybe even the directors that I think you guys should be looking out for the next award season. Just kind of have on the radar, if you will. But then my first like real like very early, or I think I call it way too early predictions, would be like in the summer, probably like August maybe. But I also don't go to a lot of film festivals. A lot of pundits have the privilege of going to film festivals and seeing a lot of this stuff, and I go on word of mouth. So they'll go to the film festivals, they'll come home, they'll talk about them, and then I'll be like, okay, well, these people are saying this about this, so it's something to look out for, and then I'll make a video about it. So I do go to my local film festival if it happens, but they didn't have it last year. Once the strikes came, they kind of put it on hiatus. So I don't know if we're going to get it this year. It's called the 919 Film Festival. It's like local here in North Carolina, but they didn't do it last year. So let me see what else I got here. Yeah, that was weird. Look, we knew he was going to sweep after he continued to win. I thought SAG was the only place, and he did trip up there, and Timmy got it. But other than that, I mean, we knew this was Brody's, but yeah, it was weird, right? Like, why? And then he like told him to stop. By the way, I do hate when they play people off. I do hate that. Especially these like not lower, but you know what I mean? The less in the spotlight categories. And they get up there for probably the only time in their lives, let's be honest, and they just won an Academy Award. And you're playing them off like after like a minute. I mean, it just drives me crazy. But then you get Brody up there, who's given like 10 speeches already this season. And I mean, God bless him. I mean, he deserves the win. But like, get off the stage, bro. Like we know, man. We know. So I did of the speeches tonight, and I'm not saying he didn't deserve the award. That's not what I'm saying. Don't misunderstand me if you like Brody. But I'm just saying that his speech tonight was probably my least favorite. And I'm talking about from anybody that went on stage tonight. Because I just felt like he knew he was going to go up there. But yet then when he got up there, it was like he didn't know or something. And he's like kind of like, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of his speech. So I get what you're saying. What do we got here? What do we got? Oh, my God. Are you excited for the new Joachim Trier from Sentimental Value? You know what? I would love to go to Cannes. Oh, my God. I was actually talking to my wife, and she rolled her eyes, of course. But I was talking to her. I was like, "What film festival can I go to?" That's where to go. Now, I feel I can't leave her with the kids and do all that or whatever. So I'm like, it'll be fairly quick, maybe a weekend or something. So I'm like thinking, in the next couple years, maybe New York Film Festival. Maybe if I get crazy, maybe TIFF or Sundance or something like that. But I got to do something like that at some point. I'm going to be 50 this year. And I've just been championing movies my whole damn life, and I've never been to like an actual like world-renowned film festival. I feel like I should do that at some point, bucket list, if you will, item. And before I get any older, because I'll tell you right now, I can barely walk upstairs. This resort I took my kid to this weekend. Oh my God, it was brutal. I'm getting up there, guys. But I should do that. We should do that. Let's do that, Siobhan. I'm with you. One of these days. I don't know when, but where did I leave off here? Let's see. Oh my God, I was just talking about that. I haven't seen them all. What's it say? Number one sock. Hang tight. I don't know what that means, but I got you. I know it didn't deal with a serious topic, but I'm Not a Robot was my favorite short of the three. Now listen, this was a really good short. It's on YouTube, by the way. You guys can watch it. But it's like this girl in this office, this woman in this office, is doing one of those CAPTCHA tests where it's like, click the squares that have the bicycle to get through to the website. We've all seen that. And she's doing it, but she keeps failing it. And it's just her in an office, like in her cubicle or whatever. And she's got all her coworkers around her, and she keeps failing it. So she can't get through to the thing that she's supposed to do for her work. And so it's like, prove that you're not a robot. And she keeps doing it, so she starts questioning if she's a robot or not. And there's a bit of commentary built into it that I won't spoil for you. It's only like 30 minutes. But it's on YouTube. It's actually really good. I agree with number one sock here. It was a good one. I haven't seen all of them, though, but I did really like it. And it ended up winning. And I kind of thought when I saw it, I'm like, if I had seen this before my predictions, I may have predicted this. Now, I thought Aline, which, by the way, I thought it was Alien the whole time. Did anybody else think that was Alien, or am I crazy? I thought it was Alien, but apparently it's Aline. I don't know. The whole title thing was weird, but I thought that was going to win. That was a very topical, important story about immigration, deportation, that whole thing. But yeah, I'm Not a Robot pulled it out, and it's really good. You guys should watch it on YouTube if you haven't seen it. Hard Truths, man. Not for give you a little Marion John Baptiste shout out there, but I mean, in reality, hard truth. You might be right, man. We were talking. This came up on a live stream I did. We were talking about A Complete Unknown, and somebody mentioned, because I championed Timothy all year, and somebody mentioned on the stream, which I agree with them, that why didn't we do a Joan Baez movie? And Bob Dylan could be a supporting character in Joan Baez's film. And I don't disagree with that. I would love to see a fucking Joan Baez movie, especially if Monica Barbaro was playing her, because she killed it. But Hollywood specifically, I'm not speaking so much for international filmmakers, because I don't really know that well to say. But in America, it's like we're caught up in this subgenre of like lifting up these male icons, And obviously, I love Timmy in that movie, so I might be part of the problem inherently without even thinking about it. But like at the same time, I want to see these female empowered stories too. Now, Anora is like, I'm not talking. Anora is obviously not a biopic, but it is a story centered around a female protagonist. And that won Best Picture tonight. And not only did it win Best Picture, it won all the top-of-the-line shit that goes with it. I mean, there wasn't really a lead actor in that movie to be nominated for lead actor. But otherwise, top-of-the-line shit went to Anora. And that is a female story, absolutely. And, it's a story about a community that's maybe lesser seen in film when you're talking about the sex worker community. Which I love that her and Baker keep shouting out the community that basically inspired this story and they wanted to be true to. But Bruno's onto something, and that's been brought up on my channel before because I love Timmy so much, and people mistake that for me like, supporting these male dominated stories, which is not true, because I am all about, obviously you guys know I love Anora, but I am all about lifting up, the women's stories too. And I wish Hollywood would start doing that a little bit more. It's just like missing all the time. K-Ray. So about No Other Land. I guess it wasn't you, K-Ray. I thought it was you, but I thought somebody told me that Briarcliff, which is the distribution company for The Apprentice, picked it up. But I'm not sure if that's accurate or not because I haven't looked into it. Yeah, absolutely, Maria. Yeah, I always do that. I don't always film my reaction during it because I watch it with my son who stayed up late tonight to watch it. So I kept going in with him, and then I'd come out here for like the big ones, and then I'd go in and watch a couple with him. By the way, he was bummed about his ballot. I don't know if you guys saw. So he's taking this shit like uber seriously next year. He's like, dude, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to figure it out. And like, I'm going to get the Ward Expert app. He's like doing all this shit. So he went on hunch because he hadn't seen any of the movies and he doesn't obviously sit down and watch people's predictions and shit. So aside from like watching a little bit of the Golden Globes, he didn't really know what was going on. I mean, I'm his dad, so he knew, you know, the movies that I champion and stuff, but he didn't really like know what to pick. So like he picked Dune to win Best Movie tonight. He didn't pick Kieran Culkin for supporting. So he was like bummed that like he really wanted to do well, you know, and he missed a lot tonight because he was just going on hunch. But anyway, yeah, I always do this like after. I did it after the SAGs and stuff too. There's Claudia says Demi was robbed. There we go. We got a couple Demi was robbed. Claudia, I don't know if you're still here, but I'm just trying to figure out if you mean robbed like you think that was the best performance or you think that, because I think the Academy told us a story tonight. And I am sad for Demi, for sure, 100%. But I don't know that we can say she was robbed because of the strength of Anora. If Anora had been weaker and let's say just won Best Picture or, you know, whatever combo you want to use, and then Mikey won over Demi, then you could say, okay, well, she was robbed. But I think because of how much Anora won and how strong it was overall with the Academy, that it was almost a layup for Mikey to come along with that. But if you're talking about like, you know, abstractly, like based on the performance, then if that's your favorite performance, I absolutely understand where you're coming from. You won't get an argument from me. I'm sad for Demi. I would have loved, like I said earlier, I would have loved for her, Mikey, and Fernanda to all have won tonight. But sadly, we know that's not possible. So, yeah, I think we talked about that already. Yep, that was the one I just mentioned. Leonardo just says that he's very happy Brazil won. Oh, my God. I mentioned earlier, but, dude, I was so happy. That's the one that I was most excited about. Because even when Mikey won actress, I kind of knew she was going to because of what Anora was doing on the night. Now, I wasn't like 100%, but I was definitely more confident than going into tonight for Mikey. But I'm still here. I was nervous, man. I was really, really nervous because I was just like, I was scared of Amelia Perez. I was like, please don't let this thing be a thing, okay? Zoe won, great. It got original song, great. We're good. Please stop. So, you know, but yeah, I was so happy with the I'm Still Here win, absolutely. Mikey won a lot of the regional critics awards. She was racking up. In fact, you know when that changed was after the Globes, because that was when the world, you know, saw Demi's narrative reintroduced. Like, oh shit, because that Globe speech was an all-timer. If you guys want to go back and watch Demi's Golden Globe speech when she won there, that was an all-timer. I've seen a lot of award speeches. That was one of the best I've ever seen. Like, she literally was like emotional, appreciative, and you wouldn't forget it. Let's see. Yeah, Claudia. I think she mentioned that earlier as well about Demi. I'm bummed that Demi lost, but K-Ray said Demi said she had never won anything for acting before. I feel bad for her, but she did win the Globe, Critics' Choice, and SAG, and it's still a victory for her. It's also a victory for horror. You know, she was a huge flag carrier for that genre this year, and I'll be forever indebted to her and to The Substance and to Coralie. I mean, huge for the genre. I think it's going to open doors, you know. If I said on my podcast this week, I had a buddy on and we talked about The Monkey from Oz Perkins. And I said on that podcast episode, we were talking about the SAG results, and Demi won there. And I said, if The Substance wins Academy Awards, The Substance, then the next psychological thriller that comes along, your Get Outs, your Sixth Sense, all that shit that they like to occasionally recognize, the next time one of those comes along, it's going to win like 15 Oscars. I mean, you know, Because they're going to be like, if the substance can do that, then we can do this for, this psychological horror or whatever. That's not, body horror. So the substance was a huge, like, crack in that door to the horror genre being in with the Academy. And that's a big, big win. That is a huge win if you're a fan of horror or genre filmmaking. Absolutely. Let's see what we got here, guy. Alexandra says, I love the Fab Five for the tech categories. It works a lot better. I don't think nobody had that tonight, though. The Brutalist was doing really good with techs. The Brutalist got what? Score, cinematography? What else they get? Was that it besides Brody? The Brutalist win 3? Somebody tell me. I thought it won 1 more. But maybe the Brutalist only won 3. Yeah, the SAGs, AJ's right here. The SAGs are super. He's right. Now, look, with that being said, because somebody came at me in my comments when I did my SAG reaction, Demi gave a great performance. Okay, I'm on record right now. Her performance was phenomenal. So was Margaret Qualley. They were really a two-hander in that movie, but whatever. But Demi Moore was tremendous in that film. Okay? And the art imitating life part of it, I love that. I love when that ends up happening in a performer's career. And that was what happened in The Substance, too. Because she was essentially a version of Elizabeth Sparkle, like kind of like parallels to her own career, her own life. So that obviously was going to be super important to her in her performance. So I just want to say that up front. But AJ is 100% correct that when it comes to the SAGs, they don't, frankly, give a shit about the performance if you have a juicy narrative. I mean, straight up, dead ass. They'll just give it to you if you are who you are and you have a career narrative that speaks to what they do in the industry as actors. Brendan Fraser, posthumously for Chadwick Boseman. What are some others? Michelle Yeoh recently for Everything Everywhere. Like, these are all, I'm not saying any of these are bad performances, but look in the category of what they may have been up against. I mean, the narrative helps push them over with an organization like SAG. SAG will always go with the narrative. And especially if it's with a good performance, which is what you had with Demi this year. That's why I thought Demi's narrative, along with that phenomenal performance, might be enough to carry her to an Oscar regardless of what Anora did. Now, when I was saying that, I didn't really think Anora was going to win editing. So when Anora went editing, I was like, it's fucking game, set, match. We're good. If you're a fan of Anora, you can go to bed. The only reason you're staying up is to see the speeches because it's going to win. I mean, that was really the moment when I was watching that I didn't expect because I had picked Conclave. That I was like, that's it. It won editing. It's going to fucking win everything under the sun. I mean, if they hadn't given away Kieran Culkin's award yet, I would actually be sitting there thinking Borisov could win. That's how impactful the editing win was to me when I saw it. Especially since I didn't predict it or didn't expect it. Let's see what else we got here. You guys are awesome, by the way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Mentioned that earlier. I just saw Tony's comment about 2026. I'm trying to remember where I was in here. I wish it would give me the super chats and stuff on a separate screen. I know you guys can't see. Can I share it? Let me share it with you again so you can see what I'm talking about. Is this the right one? That's the wrong one. Sorry, I'm working through my age in front of you guys. I don't know, is this it? So look, I'm going to show you real quick. You see this right here? So it gives me that when you guys give me a super chat. But now look, I'm not going to click on it. But if I did, because that's how I have to see the super chat, right? So if I click on it and I see the super chat and then I go back, it takes me to the top of the thing. 363 comments I have to go through. Why does it do that? Maybe that's in my settings. I got to figure that shit out. I don't like that. Take that off there. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Thornbird67 says nothing for a complete unknown. Very surprised. I am too, but I'm also pissed. Because the reason I was surprised is because I didn't think it was going to go home empty-handed. I just didn't. And I knew it was possible, but I was like, they're going to give it something. They love Mangold. They look at what they gave Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm still haunted by the number of Oscars they gave that thing. Editing? Have you guys seen Bohemian Rhapsody? Editing. They gave editing to Bohemian Rhapsody. So I'm like, they're going to give it something. So I changed. I thought the most likely win was for sound, because it just won the Guild for that, which was a bit of a surprise, honestly. So I was like, all right, I'll pick it for sound. I think it's Dune Part 2, but they've been kind of hating on Dune Part 2 this year, and they love biopics. It's not going to go home empty-handed. Thornbird. So I switched my prediction to sound. Guess what won? Dune Part 2, which is what I had literally all fucking year. Don't change your predictions at the last minute. I never do either. And I should have just enjoyed my family today. I don't know why I was thinking about this. I should have just left Dune at best sound, and then I would have had 18 out of 23 instead of 17 out of 23. But I changed it. Let's see. Yes. I can confirm that is correct, Christina, and that also helps kind of prove my BAFTA prediction precursor that I use. Anthony says it feels weird to go from Oppenheimer to Anora. I mean, yeah. I think that kind of speaks to similarly what we were saying with some of the comments earlier about Anora just kind of not feeling like an Oscar movie. But it is. I mean, it straight up dominated. And I think that also the larger win, and I'm talking about like historically going forward in the history of the Academy going forward, or I should say the future of the Academy going forward, the larger win is the winds of change that we are going to start to see. Oppenheimer, everybody, my grandmother, who hasn't seen a movie in the theater in God knows how long, knew Oppenheimer was going to win last year. Okay, she actually told me that. she texted me, Oppenheimer's going to win this year? Everybody knew that. Okay, and I'm not saying it shouldn't have. It was a masterpiece. It was Nolan's, let's be honest. But that is a perfect example of like the male icon story being lifted up in Hollywood and being presented in a Oscar-friendly way. And that was very much an Oscar-y movie. Absolutely. If a movie like Barbie had won last year, I would have been okay with that. But I'm just saying, if a movie like Barbie had won last year, that would not be seen as an Oscar-y movie. That would be a similar kind of thing with Anora, where you'd go, it's weird that Barbie won. You would think that, even though it was clearly something that they awarded. So I get where this mentality is coming from, not just from you, Anthony, but from a few others that I've seen tonight too, and that you'll probably see the rest of this week when people are reacting to it. It just feels different, I think, is what we're trying to say. And there may be Anora haters out there. People might not like it. It might not have been their pick. My daughter didn't like it. She didn't want it to win tonight. I get it. I get it. We have our favorites. We have what we think should win, objectively. But the change in the Academy and the different type of voting body that this Academy is going to be, especially the further 10 years from now. Who knows what's going to be nominated for Best Picture 10 years from now. But you can start to see little bits of it creeping in here and there. And I think whether you are a fan of Anora or not, you should appreciate what it did this year, because I think it is going to signify change going forward for some other films that might have previously not shown up at the Academy Awards. Honestly. Sorry, guys. Am I the only person? I'm probably one of the few people that like wets their throat with a beer. You know what I mean? But I do have water here too, so I can't use that lie. I do have water, but I'm gonna choose to wet the whistle with the beer over here. But I get what Anthony's saying there. Corey says, I told my friend who I saw Anora with it at one Best Picture, and she said WTF LMAO. Yeah, I get it. I get the mentality. Flow greater than Wild Robot. You guys see what I'm saying though? I think that Flow win is gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna do. If there's like a weird indie hipster freaky unique animated movie next year, international or otherwise, that's up against like the next Disney Pixar film, I'm going to have to pick the weird one. I mean, they're telling us, guys, they're saying, hey, look, we don't give a shit what your legacy is or what your studio is. You know, if it's a weird, interesting animated film, it's going to get a lot of votes. Since the Academy has grown in size, their international voters have increased drastically. Yep, they make up about 25% of the Academy, and I believe that played into Anora's favor. I think so. You had 2 international films in the mix for Best Picture, if that's what you're talking about, at least, AJ. But, Amelia Perez was basically non-existent after the controversy, I think. I mean, I'm sure it still got votes, but not nearly as many as it would. Me and Fuji, my buddy Jonathan Fuji, did a video like not even a month ago. When was that? What is this, March 2nd? We did that video, that initial video for our swaps at the end of January, I think. It was like the 27th or something like that. And him and I, who do this all the fucking time, both said Amelia Perez was going to win Best Picture back then. On January 27th, we were saying that. Both of us. We were in agreement that as much as we hated it, it was going to win Best Picture. Fast forward to March 2nd, it stood 0 chance to win Best Picture. That's how much shit could change on a dime. You know what I mean? But I think because of that, if that's what you mean, then yes. Because obviously you had I'm Still Here in Best Picture, so that got a lot of votes for that would have been Amelia Perez. But then you have a movie that's, although I think The Brutalist was kind of international friendly too, honestly. Anora, especially if you think like internationally, like France and like, America can be a little stuck up a little bit when it comes to like the sex and like, I don't know why, like we just kind of look down on those kinds of stories, especially when you're thinking like Oscar winners, you know what I mean? But international bodies, I don't think that way. I don't think, and that's kind of what I think AJ's saying. But I think Brutalist may have gotten some too, because Brutalist also feels very internationally to me. I mean, I know it's not, but kind of feels that way. But yeah, I get what you're saying there. I think so, Joey. Man, I love her. Love her. I've loved her since she was Ghostface in Scream, I've said before. One of the most iconic kills in that franchise were at her hands when she killed Dewey as Ghostface. And people were up in arms, whatever, because he was one of the legacy characters. Dude, iconic shit, okay? And she says in the voice box, it's been a real honor. And she, like, kills him, And he's one of, like, main people, from, like, the OG film. And that's, like, as a horror fan, that should give me chills. I mean, that's one of my favorite franchises, you guys know. But I've loved her forever. And they made the announcement a couple years ago that Sean Baker was doing a film. And jokingly, we're all like, okay, well, what's Sex Workers about? Because he loves to play in that sandbox, that's fine. And then when I heard that Mikey Madison, I don't even think I'd heard she was cast initially, but it was one of those like, film update things on Twitter or whatever, that she was in talks to be in Baker's new film. And I immediately was like, and I didn't think, and I hate when I don't think about it ahead of time, because sometimes you'll be like, who's going to play that or whatever. And I was immediately like, that's fucking perfect. That is literally the perfect casting for the way that he tells stories and for what I knew about her as an actress. And I'm talking about, yes, how she looked, but also like, I just felt it as a fan of both of them that was going to be a perfect marriage. And that was like 2 years ago. And now we're sitting here and they're both winning for that project that I read about on Twitter like 2 years ago. I mean, it's crazy. It's really crazy. So in a weird way, I kind of predicted this 2 years ago. I'm kidding. I didn't. But I did think it was a great casting and a great marriage of two performing artists to come together. I thought it was awesome. K-Ray says, I was watching on my laptop, so it didn't cut out, but it paused. Oh, you're talking about because of the Hulu shit? Were you watching on Hulu? They were driving me fucking crazy tonight. I switched to YouTube TV. I don't know if you guys heard that. Like, I couldn't do it. It kept, like, buffering and all that shit. You guys are talking to each other, which is awesome. What time is it? 12:40? I was going to wrap up by 1, but let's see what else you guys got. I hope I didn't miss any super chats, but you guys have been awesome. Let's see. Christina says Brody would have been fine if he stopped talking when he got to his mom. Yeah. I felt like it was weird. Like, I felt like he had something he wanted to make sure he said, but then he never said it. Right? Like, did you guys get that? Like, because he, like, told him to stop the music, and then, like, I don't know, he acted like he was going to say something, and then he kind of never said anything. And it was weird. It was a really weird speech. And look, I know you're overcome with emotion. I know you're in the moment. Like, I was talking on my reaction video even about Mikey, and she had a prepared thing that her friend, or whoever that was she was with, gave her when she went up, co-star or whatever. And, you know, and I knew she was kind of using that as a guide or reading from it or whatever. But at the time, I was like, oh my God, please thank the other nominees. Because I was thinking about Demi the whole time. I mean, I really was. I was so thrilled for Mikey, but I was literally thinking about what was going through Demi Moore's mind. I was sitting front row, by the way, front and center. And I saw her stand up for her and clap for Mikey and all that. And they've been very supportive of each other all year. And a lot of people will say, you know, Demi got robbed and Demi was snubbed and, you know, Sue and Elizabeth and all this shit. But what we fail to realize is Demi's happy for Mikey too. Like, they were very supportive of each other. And that whole group was very supportive of each other in the group. Like, they were pulling for each other. You know what I mean? And I think that gets lost a little bit sometimes. And we kind of make it a competition amongst ourselves. And I'm not saying it's not a competition because it's an award. Somebody's competing for it. But I think that we forget that they were very, very supportive of each other throughout the season. And that makes me feel good. And Fernanda Torres, too. I mean, you know, she was great on the circuit. And it was a bummer that she wasn't there for a lot of the award shows between the Globes and the Oscars, because then who knows? I mean, what if Torres had been nominated at a couple of those spots and won and had those speeches, talked about her mom and talked about that narrative? Bro, it could have been a whole different looking situation. I mean, she was already in the mix without having any of that screen time since the Globes. Let's see. Celso is always a big supporter of my channel, and all he says, in all caps, is Brazil. Fuck yes, brother. I was very, very excited for that. You'll see when I put my little package together for my reactions. That was my favorite win on the night. It really was. And I'm putting it up there with Mikey Madison even. Like, that was one, because I was so nervous about that win. Because I knew deep down in my heart that Fernanda couldn't win and I'm Still Here wasn't going to win picture. So I said to myself, if it does not win international feature, it's going to go home empty-handed, A, and B, Amelia Perez is going to have a third Oscar. So I was so nervous for that. So when it won, I told you, I have this AI tracking on my camera. I turned it on because I was like, if this fucking shit goes awry, really either way, I knew I was going to be moving. You know, one was going to be me moving, like, to go hide somewhere if Amelia Perez won. And the other one was going to be me moving in excitement. And luckily, it was the latter. But I was so thrilled for that win. And I'm so pissed that I haven't seen it. Maybe it exists, but I got to find, are there, somebody tell me if any of my Brazilians are here, is there like a shot of Brazil celebrating at the Carnival? I know that's going on right now. Georgie says, I'm so happy that Walter gave a shout out to you. Yeah, that was awesome. Oh my God. And he mentioned Montenegro. I was like, he's going to say it. He's going to say Fernanda Montenegro. He's going to thank her. Yeah, that was powerful. That was so powerful. And he mentioned, which you guys told me. You guys told me when I reviewed that movie, because the Brazilians went crazy on my video in the comments when I did my review of I'm Still Here, which was like back in late November. Just flooded with Brazilian comments, which was awesome. But you guys told me about him knowing the family, and he went to the home, you know, that's depicted in the film, with her family, and like knew them as a 13-year-old boy. So that story to come back and be told, and now to be an Oscar winner, is like powerful shit. Like, I don't care what your allegiances are or whatever, that's powerful. And when he was telling that story during his speech tonight, Walter Salas, I was like, I know that. My followers told me that shit on my video. Oh my God, number one socket is? I didn't even know that. Okay, so I had a screener for it like a couple months ago, but I know it's in theaters right now, but I didn't know you could get it on VOD, which is what you're saying. So yeah, if you guys haven't seen Flow, it's really kind of an anomaly because it's a dialogue free. There's no speaking in it at all. There's no humans in the movie. Now, of course, it's animation, but I mean, there's no humans depicted in the movie. It's all animals. This black cat that you've seen on all the materials is the lead. I guess I don't know if lead, if that's the way you go. And it has a supporting cast of all these other animals. And it's a story about survival. It's kind of an apocalyptic story in a way. There's a great flood and everything. You know, it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful journey. It's a journey story told through the eyes of these different animals with the cat at the center of it. But I'll just tell you that I'm going to be 50 this year, like I said. Obviously, I love movies, so I was probably going to like this thing. My 11-year-old liked it. My 6-year-old liked it. My 6-year-old. Guys, his attention span is like non-existent, okay? This dialogue-free, hand-drawn animated film that's like 90 minutes, he was captivated when we watched it, when I had my screener at home. That to me right away, I was like, this is something special. Because there had been some word of mouth. But even when we saw it, when I watched it, I don't think anybody, myself included, was really thinking Oscar nominee at the time. We knew the Globes had the nominations at the time when we saw it. But yeah, especially when it won the Globe, I was like, all right, this is going to appeal to a lot of people. So to number one Sock's point there, if you have the means, and especially if you have a family, like little ones, I would check out Flow. Let's see. Deion Drake, 27. That's probably the most exciting and thrilling Oscars we've had in a long while. I don't disagree with you because the outcomes for a lot of those races, when the music started tonight and the broadcast opened. By the way, I want to ask you guys about Conan. I fucking love Conan. So be careful if you come in here with the Conan slander. Just a preface. I love him. Let me know in the chat. I'm going to go through your comments before I wrap up. But let me know what you thought about Conan O'Brien's hosting. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. But to Deion Drake's point, we didn't know. Like I said on my final predictions video, which, like I told you guys, do we have to count Dune? Can I have Dune 2 as sound? I can't have that. You guys aren't going to let me have that because I changed it? All right, that's fine. If I didn't change it, I would have been 18 out of 23. But I told you guys on that video, I said there's like 5 categories, maybe, that we know are locked up out of 23. Deion Drake's preaching knowledge right there. This is an exciting year. We had probable outcomes that we thought it would go one way or the other. But he's absolutely right. It was thrilling. It was exciting. Now, not to burst Deion Drake's bubble, but when the show started tonight and some stuff started to happen, I was a little more comfortable. As an Anora fan, at least. If I was a Conclave fan, I'd be freaking out. Especially after that editing went. That was the one. And I think we'd already had screenplay at that point. So at that point in the night, Anora had enough to win Best Picture. That was it. Corbet could have won Director. Demi Moore could have won Actress. Anora still had enough to be Best Picture. But that is a really exciting award season. Deion Drake's absolutely right. Of course. Look, I love Christian. He does good shit over there. He really does. Look, I can't say anything either though because I was a massive hater on Emilia Perez this year. The only thing I think I have going for me in that respect is that the majority of other people were too. So I have that in my favor where there wasn't a lot of people arguing with me. But Anora, I get that he doesn't like it, and that's fine. But I was, because Rotten Tomatoes is a good example. So Rotten Tomatoes has a critic score of like 90 for Anora and like a 93 from audiences. That's a well-loved movie. That is a highly, highly regarded film from the GA and from critics, which is not as common as you might think. So that is a universally loved film. So when you find somebody on the award circuit that just like hates something that's as broadly appealed as that, it's danger zone. Because, he's tweeting it by Anora and all this stuff. You got to be careful with that stuff because that's like, people love that shit. If it's scoring like that on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's just a simple snapshot. And I'm not saying he shouldn't speak his truth, because that's one of the reasons why I love him. So, but yeah, he's doing good shit over there. Let's see. I don't think this is my daughter. Her name's Madison too, but let's see. I had went with narrative and SAG plus CCA for Demi. Oh, Demi Moore over Mikey Madison. Yeah, I'm never going to get BAFTA, Madison. Period. If I ever go against BAFTA, I'll be shocked. Let's put it that way. Because if I didn't go over BAFTA this year, to your point, what you're saying right now with that narrative, by the way, is the strongest fucking narrative I've ever heard. I'm trying to even think of the last time there was a narrative that strong for an actor. And I'm not trying to be funny. I literally can't think of one that was as strong as what she had this year, and as deserved as her career would. She needed that. I mean, she deserved that for her career narrative. So to your point, I get it, but I personally am never going against the BAFTA. Period. For lead performance, I'm never going to pick it for picture, because they don't know what the hell they're doing with picture. But for lead actor and lead actress, the BAFTA, like I said earlier, the next 10 years, I pick that every single year. I'll miss twice, and I'll get 8 right. They always cross over. And this, with that narrative, I mean, I would not have thought, I mean, I did think, but it was not super confident, because that was such a strong narrative. But the BAFTA still prevailed. And people go against that. I just don't know why. It's the same thing with the PGA for picture. If a movie wins best film at the PGAs, that's my prediction for best picture. I mean, every time. I mean, they just always match up with it. They miss occasionally, sure. But if I told you could get 7 years in a row correct, and then you miss one, and then you get the next 7 years in a row and you miss, I mean, what are you going to do? If you're making bets on teams or horses or whatever, I get why you did it, Madison, and I think a lot of other people did too. Insert name here. I think this is Mark Zuckerberg. Let's see what Mark has to say. We'll read that. Mark says Mark. I'm calling him Mark already. He says it's kind of sad because I feel like Madison's going to get a ton of online hate from the tour and more mega stands. Great performances, but some of their stands get a little intense. I think we all do. You're right. I mean, you're right, first of all, but I think we all do. When I do this thing, it's funny because if you follow my channel, or those of you that do can tell Zuckerberg here, I'm a stan of who? I shouldn't even say him. Have y'all put it in the chat. Go ahead. I'll give you a few seconds. Who am I a stan of? 2 people that were in the awards hunt this year. I'm going to see how many you guys get it. I was a stan. I gave you enough time, I think. I'm going to see if you got it right. I was a stan, and I always will be, for Timothée Chalamet, who was nominated this year for Complete Unknown, and Ariana Grande for Wicked. Those 2. All year. People would hit me in my comments, just like you're saying, because I kept predicting them to win various award shows. And people would get in my comments, give it up. Their performance sucks compared to XYZ. Or you need to let it go. It's not going to happen. This, that, this, that, this, that. Maybe they were right. And I also rode hard with Mikey Madison all year. I love Adrian Brody, okay? And his speeches or whatever aside, I love him. I think he turned in a really, really good performance. And I'm completely fine with him winning an Oscar for that performance. It was brilliant. As a stan, which is kind of what you're saying, my favorite performance by 1,000 miles is Timothée Chalamet's. Now, I take that fandom that I have for him, and I couple it with what he did to prepare for that role and his commitment to that role of playing an iconic person that's still alive, by the way. And for me, that's the best performance. Now, when stuff starts to play out on the circuit, and Brody and the film The Brutalist start to get what they get, and Brody starts to give, the Globe win the Globe and the speeches that he gave and that kind of shit, then, narratives change and my mind changes in terms of who's going to win what. But it's one of those rare instances where I think my fandom and one of the best performances of the year, even if you don't think it's the best, kind of line up. And that was what was really exciting for me. And I feel the same way about Ariana Grande. And I think it's a bummer that she didn't at least get an award like Timmy got the SAG, But I'm not going to come to your point, Zuckerberg. I'm not going to come at somebody else because they think Brody's the best or that's their favorite. Never in a million years. So I think that's the difference when you get to the toxicity involved. And it is sad because Mikey Madison didn't do anything wrong here. Right? I mean, what did she do wrong? So she is young, yes, but she obviously loves the craft of acting. She's obviously great at it. Sean Baker gave her this opportunity to play this role of Annie, and she fucking slayed it, dude. Like, absolutely killed that role. Demi Moore will tell you that, okay? Anybody that loves the craft of acting, even if you don't like the movie Anora and you see that performance, you will go, Mikey Madison turned in a brilliant performance in that movie. It might not be my favorite, but that was a brilliant performance. So when you get to the toxicity of some of the fans, they kind of forget all that and they base it more on their opinion of what they think should have been recognized. And that's when it kind of gets away from itself a little bit. I am of the mind that Timothée Chalamet is the best male performance this year. But do you think I'm going to, for 1 second, go into somebody's chat or on their website or in their social media if they're a fan of Adrian Brody and talk shit to them? Tell them whatever people are going to tell me about Mikey winning? No, I'm not going to do that. Because you can have your opinion and you can do what you want to do. And to your point on the screen here, Mikey and Demi, as far as I saw, and I watched all the televised shows, and I follow this shit really closely, as far as I saw, they were very supportive of each other. They were very cordial and loved each other and were petting each other's dogs and all kinds of shit. Like, they were pulling for each other. Now, it's a competition and only one person can win. I'm sure they both wanted to win just as much as the other one. But Mikey did nothing wrong. All she did was perform the best that she could in that role. And I definitely think it was Oscar worthy. Now, I think Demi's was too. But if Demi had won tonight, I would have been thrilled as somebody who preferred Mikey and who picked Mikey. I would have been thrilled with Demi winning. I'm not going to go into a, live stream that's talking about Demi and is excited about it and say, Mikey was robbed or what the fuck, Mikey was better. I mean, that's my opinion. If I voice my opinion, that's fine. But I'm not going to tell you you're wrong for voicing your opinion. And we've gotten away from ourselves a little bit when it comes to like award shows and the difference between like subjective and objective and like opinions versus like, because what happened on the night tonight with Anora's Hall, that turned into a factual thing that was playing out. They loved Anora, period. I mean, that, whether you do or not, I get it. But the Academy and the industry as a whole, if you think about the guilds with the DGA, PGA, I mean, this thing fucking won everything. And I love how, it's so funny to me how some pundits and some critics were doubting Anora. And I'm like, what? Why are we questioning? I didn't understand why we were even questioning it. Like, it was so strong. It had such strong support that there were other films, sure, that could have come in and surprised in certain areas. But to me, it was pretty evident, honestly, most of the season, except for that maybe like week or two around the Golden Globes. That was a little bit of a iffy spot for Anora fans, because I remember I actually switched Anora in the Brutalist after the Globes because I had Anora at number one for fucking ever. Remember I told you guys I started him in like August? From like August until January, I had Anora and I didn't move it. And when the Brutalist overperformed the Globes, I remember I switched him for a couple weeks. And then I ended up going back and I stayed with Anora. But aside from that little period of time, I think Anora was in pretty good shape all season. But people continue to question it, I think, because of the type of movie it was. Versus some of the movies it was up against, like your Brutalists and like your Conclaves, that seemed a lot more like this is the Academy shit. You know what I mean? Whereas Anora was a little bit more divisive or like, not traditional. But yeah, I hate that, man. I really do, because Demi Moore, and then I'll get off this and go to some more comments, but Demi Moore, Mikey Madison, and Fernanda Torres were all amazing. When I did my final predictions video and I went through the lead actress part, I literally almost cried during my recording because I was literally thanking all three of those ladies for what they did this year. I mean, three of the top 5 performances for me personally this year were those 3 women. They can't all win. You know what I mean? But you look on the bright side. Mikey won the Oscar, right? Demi and what she did with The Substance, and Coralie too, by extension, as the filmmaker, what they did for horror is a win. What they did for genre filmmaking being incorporated into the Academy Awards is a giant win. And the same thing can be said for Fernanda Torres with international films. That's a win. That their performances will matter, regardless of the statue that may be on the mantle. Those were all powerful performances that will go down as game changers. Only one of them is going to get the statue, but I celebrate all of them. I'm not here to hate on any one of them. And if Mikey didn't win, I'm not going to hate on the person that won, if any of this is making sense. Let's see what we got. What we got. Yeah. Is she talking about me again? That's probably an older comment, but I see she's still... You got me. I love Siobhan, though. Let's see. Yeah, so did I, if you count my... if you guys let me have the sound one, because I switched it last minute. I'm kidding. I'll take the L on that. So I actually got 17 out of 23 technically, but... As did K-Ray. I think last year I did 19, I think. But that was Oppenheimer year. Honestly, I kind of beat myself up. I didn't get them all last year because that was kind of an easier year. But I think I got 19 last year, so I let you guys down. I'm sorry. But I did explain kind of, everything that I missed, I think. But, yeah, Fernanda had a tough road. She had a tough road. Now, when she won international, or when the movie won international, I said this on my reaction video when I recorded it tonight. When I'm Still Here won international, she was still alive. I said that. Now, if Amelia Perez had won there, she'd have been dead on spot. DOA. But since it won international, I was like, I'm Still Here's got some support. The votes from that, most likely Amelia Perez went to I'm Still Here. So in lead actress, they're going to go from Carla to who? Most likely Fernanda. So I was like, the wild card upset is still in play. But of course, the strength of Anora just proved to be too strong. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. Let me see if there's anybody that hasn't that I haven't shouted out yet. Sophie says, in all caps, Mikey fucking won. I'm so happy you held the line and stuck with her. You were part of that. You guys came into my brainstorming session, and I was like tearing myself up because I've been with her for literally like 6 months. I've been with her. And I'm like, it was Demi Moore's SAG speech that fucked with me. And it was after voting closed, which I was mad at myself because after voting closed, and I'm like, that speech, man, that narrative, it probably got to them. They're probably going to add that onto the performance that they dug, and they're going to give it to her. But they didn't. I stuck with Mikey. Anthony says Conclave was his favorite and Anora was his second, so he's having mixed feelings about the whole thing. Conclave underperformed, I'll tell you that. I think we all collectively as pundits, thought that Conclave was pretty much the number 2 because of the adapted and what we thought was going to go for editing and the success it had at BAFTAs. But I'm telling you right now, the lead performances at BAFTA are really the only thing that carries over. It's almost bad news if you get Best Movie at BAFTA. That's almost a bad precursor, which is crazy to me. You almost don't want to win that in terms of how it crosses over with the Oscars. But Conclave underperformed tonight, whereas The Brutalist got a little more than I thought it would. And I feel like I'm missing one, that the Brutalist won, because I know in my head it got score, cinematography, and Brody. But is that it, or did it win something else? I was trying to think of this earlier too, and I couldn't think. I thought it won 4, but maybe it only got the 3. Blender. Oh my God, Corey. Thank you. Blender. So, in case you guys are wondering why there's a random word on the screen, I'll go until I finish this beer, okay? Thank you for hanging out with me. You guys are awesome. Blender is the app that you can use to do your own animation at home. And that was what the director of Flow used on his first film. It's like you can download, it's like a web-based app that you can download. Let's see. My younger sister was a cat lover first and a human being second. Flow would have been her entire personality. 6, 26, or 86. Flow winning is like getting a hug from her. Oh, that's awesome. Oh my God, that's so awesome. I've always been cats, man. Like, I like dogs fine, you know what I mean? But the only time I've ever owned a dog outside of like when I used to live with my folks when I was young, because we had dogs all the time out in the country. But the only time I ever owned a dog when I was like on my own after high school and stuff was when I was in college. And then it ended up being my first marriage. So I've been married twice. On my first marriage, we had a little pug, and it was a runt of the litter, and her name was Pasha, is what we called her. And she was so freaking cute. But I used to make a joke back then that the only dogs that I liked were ones that looked like cats, basically. They're basically really small, like, you know, furry things, you know. So I've always been kind of a cat guy. I do like dogs, but in terms of like owning and like being with every day, which is funny because cats don't want to have anything to do with you, you know. They're just kind of like whatever. But I've always been a cat guy, so that was a really cool anecdote there for sure. Lisa says she won at her Oscar party. You must have went heavy Anora. Did you get that from me? That's awesome. That's great. I probably would not have won because I made too many dumb last second changes, and I didn't go with my heart on a couple. But I'm glad to hear that you did. I'm assuming you went heavy Anora there. Bruno says Mikey is that good. She's coming for more. I agree. Another shout out for Blender. Thank you. Let's see what else we got here. Raphael says, I tagged you on a clip of the I'm Still Here being announced during the Carnival Parade in Rio. Shut up, dude. What'd you say? Oh, okay. You tagged me. Okay. On Twitter, I guess you mean, right? Or was it on YouTube? I don't know if Raphael's still here. I want to see that. I was actually gonna Google that when we got done, or before I did my before I edited my reactions video, because there's got to be a feed down there, man. I mean, I don't know what Hulu was doing. I mean, that's what you should. You guys know that meme or whatever of the TV, and they're all watching the thing in the bar, and then something happens, and they all freak out. Why didn't I piece that together? I can edit. I should have done that. There should be a clip of that, you know. You guys are going back and forth here. Corey says a Borisov win would have been insane. I agree. I'm telling you right now, man, with as strong as Anora is, I would have actually been questioning it for Culkin at that point. Like, if they'd done it later in the night, I would have actually been like, are we in for some fucking crazy shit here? But that was Culkin's. I mean, there was no way. I mean, you know, no way. I tell you what, though, like I said earlier, I bet you Borisov ended up being second. Maybe Guy Pearce. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anybody I haven't shouted out yet. Let's see. Arndam says, I predicted Flow because I like it more than the Wild Robot. Yeah, good on you. And sometimes you got to go with your heart, which is what you did. But precursor-wise, there's no reason why Wild Robot should not have won tonight. I mean, we're talking about a dominant resume. I mean, the only thing Flow had really was the Globe. The Indie Spirits, too, but that was after voting closed. And that was for international even. So it was definitely an upset win. And I know some people picked it. I know my friend Siobhan picked it, who was here earlier. And great. That's great. And I almost picked it, to be honest with you. But predictor-wise, like precursor-wise, the Wild Robot was so strong. But what we know now is that does not matter going forward. That's what I was saying earlier. This is probably the Flow win is probably the most interesting win of the night. Because that really changes the whole makeup of that branch, along with The Boy and the Heron last year. And people will say that's Miyazaki, which is true. I'm sure that played into it a little bit, but it's still a weird fucking film compared to like something like mainstream like Spider-Verse. You know, and as much as I love Flow, if you put that up against the Wild Robot, I mean, that's definitely the stranger of the films. Less mainstream, less, digestible and accessible to like young kids and stuff, even though my kids love Flow, but I mean, generally speaking. So, yeah, I think that's a very interesting takeaway from tonight is the Flow win. And on my reaction video, I wasn't even really shocked, really. I was just kind of like, oh, yay, they gave it a Flow. That's awesome. I mean, I had a reaction, but I wasn't like blown away. Oh my God, I can't believe this happened. But yeah, I thought it was cool. I agree with this too, Siobhan. The Forward project, I mean, I really, really like Anora, but I think the Forward project might still be my favorite of his. Look at this. Maya Lovey knows what is up. Bars. When I first watched Anora, I knew Mikey was winning the Oscar. Frankly, me too. Honestly, I thought that about all of them, though. Not Demi Moore so much, because I never thought in a million years that the Academy would have the substance on its list of nominees. I'm just being honest with you, and that's as a giant horror fan. Never would I have thought that the substance, and including Demi Moore in that, would have been Academy friendly. Never. But Mikey, I thought that, especially with the Cannes Film Festival accolades that it was received and the feedback that it got there, and just knowing her already and knowing her career pretty well, at least compared to what a lot of people knew before Anora, I also thought she was a strong contender. Absolutely, I agree with you. And I also thought that about Fernanda Torres when I saw I'm Still Here the first time. In fact, I remember in November when I saw I'm Still Here, I was actually having trouble rounding out my top 10 at the time, because when I do my predictions, I do 10. And I was actually like, I don't really have anybody to put at like 9 or 10. And I saw her performance, I put her in there. I mean, she was so fucking good in it. And then turns out she was one of the 5. But, yeah, they didn't really mention Carla. They showed her. I want to see what you guys thought about Conan. Did anybody put some Conan love in here? So Conan had the joke about, here we go. That's good. That was a good dig for the Russian thing, but I was going to mention Conan's joke about Carla because they were subtle enough to where like they weren't inappropriate. But yeah, they were funny. They were funny. Because he said, my name's Jimmy Kimmel, if you're going to be tweeting anything after the show. Dude, look at this. EK, man. I tell you. I made a joke on my reactions video. I got to wrap up soon. I made a joke on my reactions video that Diane Warren, tell me if this is harsh, but it was just funny to me. I think Diane Warren should write an original song for the next Planet of the Apes movie. And it gets nominated for song and VFX. And then let's go. Both in one shot, same year. Bam, bam. Maybe Andy Serkis is in there. Who knows? Man, that is the thing, though, isn't it? That's going to be a thing. We got to get her. What do we have to do here? I'm not even joking. Like, we need to do something. Like, something needs to be done. Like, we have to figure this out as a society for Diane Warren. I mean, please. I think what we need to do is we need to get her to do a song for, like, the next R-Tour filmmaker that's in the running for Best Picture. And then maybe she'll come along with that. I mean, I don't know. We got to figure something out for her. Let's see. Oh, Maria, you're so sweet. I don't even want to read this. It's going to be something about Brazil. But you're so sweet. Thank you so much. Let's see. There are 2 promising Brazilian movies premiering in 2025. What? One is with, I saw the Montenegro. One is with Fernanda Montenegro. I'm in already. I can only have to read the rest of the comment. Vittoria. And the other with Rodrigo Santoro called The Blue Trail. This last one got a Silver Bear and the 2 other prizes in Berlin. Okay. Okay. Oh, look, there's my Timmy thing that popped up when you guys subbed. Um, that's cool, Mariana or Marina. I'm sorry, Marina. And also, I don't know if you heard this on the last stream I did, but I'm gonna do actually really soon, actually probably this month. I'm gonna do a video about my favorite international films because I want to start incorporating that more into like my movie reviews and stuff because I really only see like international stuff when it's like award season because I get like screeners for them and whatever. But like especially when you guys are like shouting them out and suggesting them to me, especially if they're on VOD or anything like that, like I want to start doing that more often. And I mean like shouting it out on my channel to like spread the word, to other people and spread the good word. I'm Still Here affected me that way. It really did. Like I was like, it's fucking great. Like, and it also makes me think like, if I'm Still Here had not been in the awards discussion this year, would I have seen it? And frankly, would as many people have saw it seen it? So there's something to be said about the notoriety that comes along with being nominated, especially for something like Best Picture, which it was. And then you look last year with Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest. I mean, those types of movies, like obviously the nomination gets me and other people to see it, but what if it doesn't have that? Like there's some international film. Evil Does Not Exist last year I loved. All We Imagine Is Light. I mean, I know more people have heard of that one, but that one got stiff this year too. It wasn't submitted by India, which is a bummer, but that was one of my faves. Flow is international. Excuse me. Mick Ultra time. But I'm going to do that. And what Marina's doing here too, help me out. Like, if you guys know of some great international cinema, I want to start doing that more often. So, Victoria and the Blue Trail. Dude, I am all about the one with Fernanda Montenegro in it. Did you guys see the edit I did of all the Oscar nominees? I ended on her. A little call out to my Brazilians, but I did an edit of all the Best Picture nominees. And the very, very last shot in the edit is the close-up of Montenegro from I'm Still Here. I'm like, let's go. Powerful stuff when she showed up at the end of that film playing the elder version of Eunice. Good stuff. All right, let's see what I got here. So I'm going to start at the bottom. Oh, yeah. Flying Mermaid. Let me do this. Loved it. Actually, you know what's funny about that? Is I did a review of that movie, too, this time last year. You can still find it on my channel. Actually, you can look under popular videos. I think, do they still do that where they give you popular videos? Because it's still like the second or third highest viewed review on my channel, or video on my channel. I love that movie. That was harrowing shit, though. Like, the way that was filmed was like, because they did a version of that film with Ethan Hawke called Alive, right? Which I think was based on the same tragedy with the crash in the Andes Mountains. And this was just like an updated version of the story, but it was international. It wasn't an American film. And it was the same guy that did the one about the tsunami with Naomi Watts. The Impossible, I think it's called. Right? Is that right? My memory is not what it used to be. But anyway, great filmmaker, great film, but I love Society of the Snow. Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, thank you, Maria. You are. I tell you that every time I click on your name, too. You are. Flying Mermaid also said that, so glad that I'm Still Here won. That was an exciting moment. I agree. I'm actually going to leave that on the screen to be the sign off here. I don't know how to end it. All right. So look, you guys are great. You didn't have to do all the super chats and all that shit. Just hanging out with me is really awesome. I mean, you guys are the best. This was a great year for my channel. I always really, really dive into award season, but this year especially was like great engagement, great growth. Like going forward, I mean, this week coming up, I guess it's now because it's Monday morning technically. But this week I'll have a couple more Oscar videos, kind of like I'll do a recap of the show. I usually do that every year, and then I'll do a top 3, bottom 3 probably with my friend Siobhan that was here earlier, and we'll just give you our favorite moments from award season, and then also our 3 least favorite moments. So we'll do that. But then after kind of like all the Oscar stuff dies down a little bit, I just love movies. So I'm out here talking about movies at least once or twice a week. I'll do movie reviews. I have a podcast dedicated to, new releases. I'm always going to do countdowns and rankings and that kind of stuff on my channel too. I love horror, so I shout out horror quite a bit on the channel. And like I said, with the international stuff, I want to keep doing that too. So hopefully you guys stick with me. And then the next award season will be here before you know it. Believe you me, it'll be here before you know it. Look at this. I gotta say what's up before I leave because I just looked down and saw this. Good morning from Latvia. We are so happy here. Thank you to everyone that voted for our movie. That's from Zane from Latvia. Dude, I am thrilled for you guys. We've got some people here that predicted it that are in the chat, and it was an underdog story. I mean, you know that, I'm sure, but it was a David and Goliath thing. And I mentioned earlier that the Academy wave is shifting in that branch. I mean, they are voting for the most artistic versus like the most accessible studio, big budget, whatever. Like, if those two things are the same, then fine. But I mean, they are proving now for the second year in a row, because if you look at The Boy and the Heron and now you look at Flow, these are really inspired choices that are not mainstream, that everybody's picking. And I think it's phenomenally wonderful. And not only that, but the Latvian filmmaker that made Flow, and the shit with him in his bedroom with his dog and like watching this stuff. I mean, it's like the best, like, it's so heartwarming, He's just doing his thing, and he's getting recognized on this level is really, really special. And I love it. I love it. I mean, I love The Wild Robot. Don't get me wrong. Both movies are great, but that win for Flow is huge. Look, DreamWorks is going to be fine. Universal is going to be fine. You know what I mean? They probably have 50 animated movies coming out this year alone. But for a movie like Flow to win, and for Latvia to win, and you guys, Zane, you guys are killing it with Flow this year. You just won the Indie Spirits last weekend for international. Obviously, you had the Golden Globe success. And people are seeing your movie because of that. And that's why award shows can really have an impact, I mean, they can make these lesser seen films more accessible. And it's awesome. Congratulations to you and to Latvia. That's great. That's really great. You guys are the best. And if I didn't get to your comments, I'm so sorry. But thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. It means a lot. And the Oscars are over. So what do we do? What do we do now? I don't even know. I think we charge forward. We keep loving movies. Be nice to each other. Okay. The Mikey Madison, I haven't looked at anything online. I've been talking to you guys since the show ended. I went in, I put my son to bed, I gave him a hug. He was upset about his ballot because he missed a bunch. I said, hey man, we got next year, so he's into it. He wants to like letterbox, he wants to do all the shit. But I put him to bed, and then I came out here and did a stream with you guys. I haven't looked at any of the discourse, which I'm sure there's plenty of it. But look, let's just be nice to each other, okay? Your movie, your person may have lost, whatever. We all love movies, okay? We're all here to celebrate collectively what the Oscars are really all about, which is celebrating the year in film. That's what we're here to do, okay? I would have loved for Demi Moore to have won tonight. Mikey Madison won. A lot of people are going to say certain things about it or whatever. Like I said to you guys earlier, Mikey did nothing wrong. She showed up to work. She performed the best that she could. And that was Oscar worthy. And the Academy loved it and they voted for it. Demi Moore did nothing wrong. She did exactly the same thing. She showed up. She had this narrative, yes, that Mikey, of course, does not have at the age of 25. But neither one of them did anything wrong. And as far as I can see, they supported each other on the circuit all season. They were extremely nice to each other and to their projects. And they lifted each other up and they made each other better, I think. And at the end of the day, we could do that too as a community, as a movie-loving community. There's no reason to go into the comments and, hate on whoever won or whatever. I mean, I'm not going to do that. So if you're coming to my channel, if you're watching my channel, if you're watching my videos, then you must want to hear what I have to say if I love Anora, or you'll click off of it. That's fine. That's why when I get comments that are like, why is this and this and this? I'm like, why'd you watch it? You know what I mean? That's my opinion. My whole channel is me voicing my opinion. And, you know, I loved Anora. I love a lot of the wins that we got tonight. But at the same time, I'm sad for Demi Moore. And I'm just using that one category as an example because that's going to be talked about the most because of how it played out. Because Demi had a shit ton of stuff on her resume leading up to tonight. And like my friend Madison said in the chat earlier, I could very easily see her winning based on what she had built up. But the history with the BAFTA and the strength of Anora more than anything else, especially on the night of, like tonight when it was happening, I was like, Mikey's going to win. And they fucking love this thing. I mean, you know, like I said, if Borisov had won, I would have been shocked, but I would have also been like, that makes sense. They loved it. But they went 5 for 6. It was a big, big win for Anora. I see a couple other things in the chat about Timothy. Dude, oh yeah, the ball's in your court, Estonia. That was so fucking hilarious, the callback joke. And the callback with the sandworm playing the instruments. I thought Conan did great. I really did. You guys are the best. I got to sign off. I'm probably not going to get to edit my reaction video till tomorrow. So I know other people are probably already have theirs out, which is awesome. But, you know, I did this with you guys for a couple hours tonight. And I got to obviously go to bed. I got to work tomorrow. But I do have a fairly short day at work tomorrow. So when I come home, basically between getting off work and picking my kids up from school, I'm going to try to piece together my edit a little bit for you. So it'll definitely be up tomorrow at some point, my reaction video. And then, like I said, stay tuned this week for a couple more Oscar-friendly videos. And then we'll move on, and we'll get ready for the 2026 Oscars and the award season coming up. But, yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. You're the best. And if you're in the Anora gang, we did it. We did it. Mission accomplished. Mikey Madison team, let's roll. Man, I'm thrilled. I am absolutely thrilled. As an Anora fan, I didn't even think this was going to go this good. I mean, this was absolutely a wave of domination. It really was. And I'm only saying that from like a factual standpoint. I'm not even gloating. Like, it was just like, holy shit, Anora went crazy tonight. They love this thing. The Brutalist overperformed more than I thought it would. Conclave underperformed. Flow is a big story from the night. You know, winning that animation award is huge for like the future of the Academy. You know, otherwise, not a lot of shakeups really. I mean, you know, A Complete Unknown blanked, which is surprising. I thought Wicked might get a third award. It only got 2. But I mean, otherwise, it kind of went good. I mean, a lot of good films got recognized tonight. But Anora was the big winner. If you're watching this in the future and you didn't join us for the live stream, let me know what you thought in the comments, and obviously please subscribe. And everybody that's here with me right now, I will be back very, very soon. My reaction video will be out some point tomorrow. You guys are the best. I'll see you out here in the garage next time.